The first drag race of the new century can be summed up in one word: rivalries. In Top Fuel, new champ Tony Schumacher squared off against the former kingpin Gary Scelzi. Scelzi gets the win, and his team celebrates the first knockdown in this championship fight. In Pro Stock, it was just as intense, and this rivalry also featured the two top guys from '99. Jake Coughlin upset the '99 Winston champ Warren Johnson. Keep your eye on Jakey. He just might be the guy to beat this year.
You won, buddy. 689 to a 695.
And talk about rivalries, the WWF against Team Force is shaping up to be the best in years. For the second time in a row, Jerry Tolliver got the win, this time at the expense of Tony Pedregon. Ladies and gentlemen, we have ignition. Welcome to Y2K. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Valley of the Sun. We got lots of sun at Firebird Raceway in Phoenix, Arizona. We're set for the final day of the Checker Schuck's Kragen Nationals, presented by Pennzoil, the second stop on the 24-race NHRA Winston Drag Racing Tour. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Fry, and we've got some record-setting performances to tell you about, some intriguing matchups, some more great rivalries, and a whole bunch of new rules that all the drivers are trying to contend with. But first, let's take a look at the guys sitting in the catbird seat. We'll begin with Top Fuel. Here's Steve Evans.
After winning the Winter Nationals just 3 weeks ago over arch rival Tony Schumacher, Gary Scelzi, and Alan Johnson came to Phoenix with nitro in their eyes. You knew this team was ready. Number one qualifier, 4:57.
It was so great, Steve, to run 4:57 on 90% and be the first one to do it. The car ran great. Alan made it go down the track the first run. We had time to play and then went for the throat last night and didn't make it, but we know what it won't take.
In January, you tested here 4 low 460s on the same day. I mean, that gave you all the confidence in the world.
You know, it really did. And then winning Pomona and coming into Phoenix that way, it gives you the momentum, it gives you the drive, and it makes you hungrier than ever.
Good luck to you today.
Thank you.
Big crowd on hand. Let's go to Bobby Gerald.
Steve, the number one qualifier in funny car is Ron Capps, and he did it with a couple of very good runs. First, he had the 489, and then at the very end of qualifying yesterday, a 485 that lit up the place and put a big smile on Ron Capps' face. You got to be feeling pretty confident.
To be honest with you, the 89 was actually more impressive because we did it right in the middle of the day, and then we ran that 85 last night. Unbelievable. I don't think the front end ever touched down. It was just a heck of a ride in a funny car, and it's just a tribute to how, you know, Ace McCall has come on as crew chief at the end of last year, and Don Prudhomme, he does everything it takes, no matter what it takes to put a good car out there, and all the wind tunnel work we did with Chevrolet and this new Camaro, it's just all paying off. It's nice to drive this car.
Well, they always talk about force. A lot of people talking about Tolliver this year. You got something to say, though, huh?
It's a lot, yeah. Don't forget, I feel like everybody's forgot about me. We had a kind of not so good a year last year. We won the Big Bud Shootout, but boy, I'm telling you, didn't win a race last year, and it's like people kind of forgot about us. And we're still here. We're hanging in there, but don't ever forget about us. And you can't ever, ask force, you can't ever count out Don Prudhomme, no matter what he's doing. And we're going to be tough this year.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Steve?
Kurt Johnson has seen the best and worst of Firebird Raceway. In '93, he had a big-time crash. Last year, he won the race. This year, he's the number one qualifier and the first to ever run over 200 miles an hour here in a pro stock car at 6.89. Good words, huh, for this morning?
Yeah, we're pretty pumped up. The AC Delco Chevrolet run 200. Run at 689 yesterday morning. Not on a completely smooth run. We think we got a couple hundreds left on it, but the biggest trick is going to be able to get down that racetrack 4 times today. We've had a problem in the left lane. I don't really think it's the lane, so we're going to have to do our homework today and see if we can get down that racetrack 4 times.
We wish you the best.
Thank you very much, Steve.
He will race Jamie Yates round 1, Bob Fry.
An interesting rivalry right there. A couple of second-generation races. Well, the new-look Pontiacs from Del Worsham and Frankie Pedregon. Great crowd pouring into the place. We got more coming up for the Checker Schuck's Kragen Nationals in just a moment. Coverage of the 2000 NHRA Winston Championship is being brought to you by Mopar. Parts for Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, and Jeep vehicles from the dealerships that sell and install them. That's the Mopar difference. It's a record-setting crowd getting set to settle into their seats for round number 1 of Top Fuel Eliminator here at the Checker Schuck's Kragen Nationals. We'll have that for you in just a moment. With me here today, Mike Dunn, a 20-time NHRA National Championship event winner in both Top Fuel and Funny Car, and the driver of the Darrell Gwynn Top Fuel team. They're out looking for some sponsorship and hope to get him back on tour soon. Mike, you came here in 1988 and won this race. Tell us a little bit about this racetrack. It can be tricky.
Bob, definitely this track can be tricky. Generally in the past, it's always been early in qualifying. It's always been a little bit harder to get down that far lane. Cars have trouble, but as the later sessions go by, it seems to even out. And usually by race day, the lanes are pretty even, but you'll generally see most of the guys take the near lane. It's
amazing how many people in the Top Fuel category talking about Gary Selzy's car. Record-setting performance on 90% nitro, as we heard earlier, into the 450 range. We didn't expect to see that kind of performance for a couple of races yet.
No, I definitely didn't expect that. I figured they'd come out of the box and run in the low 460s, which they did at Pomona. That wasn't a big surprise, but that 457 here, only in the second race of the season on 90%, that's pretty amazing. Alan Johnson's definitely got a handle on that car.
Very capable team. We got a great field of Top Fuel cars coming up, and is everybody chasing Big Red here today?
I think everybody is chasing Big Red. I think they've been chasing Big Red since Pomona, but there's a lot of good cars out there. They're catching up, and it's still going to be a tough race.
Gary Selzy, the #1 man in qualifying. We've had some record-setting performances right here. The top 4 guys in qualifying, all the same as what we saw at Pomona. Is the cream rising to the top?
I think so. I mean, anytime any rules change you're going to make, the better teams are always going to be on top, and this is no different. You know, the 4 teams that are there right now are great teams, obviously, based on what they did last year. So that's not a real big surprise. But I think maybe as the year go on, you'll see some of the other teams close that gap up, and it'll be even more competitive than it is right now, although it's pretty competitive at this moment.
We saw the Budweiser King of Kenny Bernstein. He just got into the top half. We'll look at those qualifiers in just a bit. Right now, let's talk about the new rules implemented by NHRA during the offseason. Here's Steve.
If you stop by to chat with Austin Coyle or any of the other fuel crew chiefs, you'll find their biggest concern is the new NHRA rules. After all the oil and blown engines last year, listen to this. Rule number 1, 90% maximum nitromethane, 0 tolerance. Rule number 2, instead of 90 minutes between rounds, it has been cut to 75 to quicken up the show. And there's fines and penalties. If you oil the racetrack down during qualifying, costs you $500. Do it on race day, $1,000, and the driver loses 10 Winston points. But Austin Coyle, so far you seem to be coping with this.
Well, you know, it's something had to be done to get these shows on through a little better for the crowds. And the crew chiefs are able to control what goes on out there somewhat, at least. It seems like the only thing they could do, and it's working.
Let's take a look at how the fines were assessed at Pomona. Total of $5,000, even between Funny Car and Top Fuel dragsters. The good news there, not a drop of oil, not a point deducted on Sunday. Clean and dry and a very quick show, Bob Fry.
There were some oil down penalties assessed here, too, at Firebird Raceway over the last couple of days. The money collected, by the way, goes into a research fund to try to help solve some of the problems plaguing these races. 2 of those guys, by the way, did not make the field. And we're going to take a look at the Funny Car penalties. And 2 of the guys there, John Force and Ron Capps, probably didn't mind paying their fines because they qualified very well. You know, those new rules impact virtually everybody, from the racers to the manufacturers. For more on that story, here's Bob Gerald.
Bob, racing technology is always advancing, and for 2000, tire technology is changing. The folks at Goodyear have come up with a new design tire that is a ½ inch wider, but somehow they have managed to make it 2 pounds lighter. The problem is that with all the variables and the rule changes for 2000 for the NHRA, right now some teams are reluctant to throw one more unknown variable into the mix with a new tire. So what they're doing is they're sticking with the tried and true methods. They're going back to the same tires that they were running last year. But keep this in mind, this brand new tire is available for all the teams here this weekend should they choose to run it. The question right now, Bob Fry and Mike Dunn, is will they use it?
We're going to find out in just a little bit who's running which tires. Mike, the Goodyear guys have a tough job to make those tires.
Yeah, well, the Goodyear engineers are always trying to make those tires a little bit better. And we actually tested that new brand of tire in Dallas last year. And what they tried to do is round the sidewall off a little bit to get a little bit of heat off the edges.
We'll talk more about that when we come back to Firebird Raceway in the Valley of Sun in just a moment. Welcome back, everybody. When you're the #1 qualifier in Funny Car, everybody wants a piece of the action. Great crowd around Ron Capps, Copenhagen Chevrolet over there in the pit area. We've had some great rivalries over the year. Muldowney and Garlich, Jenkins and Clinton and more. Let's talk about some of the contemporary ones. Here's Steve.
No one will argue that 1999 was the most exciting Winston Top Fuel points chase in history. As you look at the final top 10, Tony Schumacher, through consistent driving, 5 pound-around appearances, his first victory at Dallas, took the title barely away from Gary Scelzi, who had had it for 2 years. And, of course, right here a year ago, ran that famous 330-mile-an-hour blast that still stands as the fastest of all time. But, you know, there's a rivalry building here. Scelzi doesn't like you much.
No, I don't like him much either. That's just the way it goes. Off the field, you know, we could be buzzed, but when it comes down to racing, what we got to do is do our job. And I'm not going to come out here and give a championship back. You know, it's too hard to earn the first time, and it's too much fun wearing that number 1.
Go get him. In fact, if we can get through this huge crowd here today at Phoenix, we'll try to talk to Mr. Scelzi, get a rebuttal. The Team Winston car is right over here. You couldn't have 2 more different individuals. The only thing they share is their ability to drive a high-speed race car, and their second initial is both S. Scelzi from Northern California, tough guy, self-made man. Tony Schumacher from Chicago, son of a very prominent family. Just talk to Mr. Schumacher. He said he didn't care if you like him or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we're not sending each other Christmas presents, and we'll see who's who at the end of the year.
It was painful for you to lose that title you love so much.
Well, it is. You know, there's a lot of meaning behind it, and the guys worked hard, and I worked hard, and, you know, we came up short. Those things happen, but we're trying not to let that happen this year.
You got the points lead right now. Congratulations on Pomona.
Thank you, and I like it where I'm at.
They couldn't be more different.
Well, Steve, the rivalry between John Force and Jerry Tolliver certainly isn't based on points. How could it be? Force has won 9 NHRA championships, and Tolliver finished in 8th in the point standings last year. So if there's a rivalry going right now, it's because he won the first race of the season. He also won the last race of the year last year at Pomona. So what do you think about this? They're beating on the drum a little bit.
Well, he's done very well. He made a good choice with Dale Armstrong. There's a guy that proved himself with Kenny Bernstein and a number of teams. But bottom line, it's a long season. It's early, so he shouldn't get too comfortable yet.
You guys are ready for the challenge?
Yeah, we got 2 good hot rods here with Tony and myself, but only time will tell.
All right, so there's John Force's side of it. Let's hear from the guy with the WWF team, the team with attitude, Jerry Tolliver. He's a former boat racer, a nightclub owner. Tells you a little bit about what this guy is all about, and there he is looking real cool next to the Stone Cold car. And Jerry, I tell you what, you're the hottest guy going right now in the funny cars. What about this rivalry between you and John Force?
Well, I mean, I got a rivalry with every guy at it, not just John Force. He's just one of the other guys. But we're at it to win races. That's what we're here for.
What do you think about their team versus your team this year, and how much have the new personnel that you brought over to this team helped you?
I'm liking my chances. We're looking real good right now. I'm real excited about Dale Armstrong, Terry Manzer, John Stewart. So we're looking good. I'll take my team right now.
Any predictions?
Any predictions? Not a prediction. It's just what we're set out to do, and that's win races.
All right. The gauntlet has been thrown down by the Stone Cold man, Jerry Tolliver.
The crowd here looking at the ladder. We'll talk about it in a bit. Scelzi and Schumacher on the same side of the ladder. Force and Tolliver on the same side of the ladder. They can meet very early in the program. We'll be back with more from Firebird Raceway in just a moment. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Firebird Raceway in Phoenix, Arizona. Final eliminations coming up at the Checker Schuck's Kragen Nationals presented by Pennzoil. Well, we were talking about rivalries, and that is one of the great things about the sport of drag racing. We've had some historic matchups over the course of the years. Kurt Johnson, the #1 qualifier, is going to maybe start a rivalry here this weekend because he runs Jamie Yates, son of Kurt's dad's father's biggest rival, Jim Yates. We'll expound on that in just a little bit, but that's going to be very interesting to see how the elder Johnson compared to Jamie Yates can handle the pressure in round #1. Now, Mike Dunn, the one thing about the sport of drag racing is it's 2 people on the starting line, and every time it's, I'm a better person than you are and everything. You've had some great matchups.
Yeah, I had some great rivalries over the years. Never any real intense ones like, you know, the Force and the Jerry Tolliver things shaping up to be, but I remember I raced Kenny Bernstein a number of times, and he beat me a lot more than I beat him, but it seemed like we always had really close races, and we both always seemed to rise to the occasion when we raced each other. We always had great lights, and a lot of races where the win-loss difference was less than 0.02 of a second.
And you've probably raced Kenny in both classes.
Car and top field, we've had a number of great races.
The one thing also about this field, and we'll talk more about this in just a bit, some women have qualified here, and that makes some natural rivalries.
Oh, obviously, when you get the women versus the men type thing, that's always a great rivalry. When you go back to like Shirley Muldowney and Don Garlitz, obviously, that's one of the greatest rivalries of all time. But, you know, the women, they can hold their own. These cars, you know, they're not the easiest thing in the world to drive, but these women come out and they do a great job.
One great thing about that Shirley Muldowney, Don Garlitz rivalry, there was no hype about that. They just didn't like each other.
Yeah, that was pretty much the way it was. But, you know, then later earlier in the years, Don actually went back and worked for her and helped her tune her car after he had retired. So even though they had the rivalry when they were racing, it seems like when they got off the track, they could still work things out together and work together, which I thought was a neat thing.
Well, nobody was better on the racetrack than Shirley Muldowney. She won 3 Winston championships and everything, and saw her over the New Year's weekend, and she's just doing a marvelous job. Was a great ambassador. Really did pave the way for a lot of these women that are racing today.
She's done a great job, and I actually had the opportunity to race her back when I was in funny car in a match race where it was funny car versus top fuel, and it was just a lot of fun racing her because she's a great champion.
Shirley Muldowney, a classic. We're going to talk about some more people involved in those great rivalries. Steve Evans standing by with the Snake.
3 weeks ago, the opening race in Pomona, Don the Snake Prudhomme took great pleasure in watching his driver, Larry Dixon, in the Miller light car in the second round take out the Budweiser car of Kenny Bernstein. You love that. You're selling beer, man.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, Steve. Anytime we can put away Budweiser, we like it. And so does our Miller Lite fans. That's what it's all about, is, them cheering for our team and, of course, sell some beer along the way,
Have a great weekend.
Thanks.
Okay, now get this. Over the past 7 races, Dixon and Bernstein have raced 6 times, and the score is dead even at 3 apiece, something they would both like to change this weekend if they get together side by side. And Kenny Bernstein, you need to go out there and sell some Budweiser like Dixon did Miller at Pomona.
Yeah, I sure do. We've raced those guys a whole lot in the last 3 or 4 or 5 races, and it's been a tough game, and we got to get the Budweiser King going and get past them. I guarantee you that.
Would you rather stay away from that car so you can't lose to it, or just attack them head on?
It's a tough deal when you got the 2 beer companies going against each other at the time. For sure, I don't mind racing them by any means. I'd like to be in the final round. That'd be a lot of fun.
Does it ever get personal?
Absolutely. It's personal every day with Prudhomme over there. You betcha.
Well, he may have looked ahead at the ladders. If the Miller car and the Bud car meet, can't happen before the final round, the way that they're paired up here this weekend and everything. Very intense rivalry there, Mike.
Yeah, that is very intense, and I can relate it from a Larry Dixon standpoint, being a hired driver. I know there's obviously enough pressure in there just going up against somebody in any kind of condition, but then when you got that added pressure of you're trying to beat the Budweiser car, and then you want to do good, so when Prudhomme's got to make that call on Monday, it's not a bad call, so it's definitely great.
Some of the other rivalries in the products. We talked about those Goodyear tires and everything. And Goodyear, of course, has won 126 straight races, 3 professional classes each. That's 378 wins, and that's over 1,500 consecutive rounds. All of that, of course, coming up because of the talk about the Hoosier tires that Warren Johnson debuted and ran out there in Pomona, California. But you go 1,512 rounds in a row. That's some pretty special stuff. We're going to talk about more with Warren Johnson. Bobby Gerald standing by with him over there in the pit area right now. Bobby?
Well, the man to beat the Pro Stock class is always Warren Johnson, but you have to go back to 1992 for the last time WJ won a race on something other than a Goodyear tire. Now, that happened to be a Hoosier tire that he won that race with, and for 2000, he's going back to the Hoosiers. Kind of, at least at this point. You still have some Goodyears here in the pit, so what's going on?
Well, Goodyear's produced an excellent tire over the years, but we felt that for progress, you got to have some competition out there. And Hoosier has stepped up to the plate, and they're committed to producing a tire that will be competitive and hopefully even better than what we have used in the past.
And at this point, is it there yet?
Well, it's not there yet, but it's awful close. There's a lot of work being done, and I feel that probably around Gainesville time of this season, they'll have a competitive tire.
But I guess the great thing about this relationship right now is that you can go with either or.
Well, Bob Newton over there realizes that they were a little out of sync, and they've got the expertise to get right back on pace, and they will be.
So the Hoosier has the potential. It's coming, Steve, but right now, WJ can go with whatever is fastest, the Hoosier or the Goodyear.
For the first time ever, all Pro Stock teams must use the same brand of racing gasoline from VP Fuels. Call it a spec fuel? Well, that's what it is. For the first time in 29 consecutive races, neither Warren Johnson or Kurt Johnson had top speed at the recent Winter Nationals. Can we draw any conclusions from that, Larry Morgan? You were a big booster of spec fuel.
Well, to be honest with you, I think that the rule allowed you could do different things last year. Now it's cut and dry that we have to run this fuel. I'm not saying anybody was cheating. They were taking advantage of the rules.
What about you, Bruce Allen?
I'm with Larry, but one of the things it takes time for you to get a tune-up. And after you've been running something a certain way for a while, it's going to take a while to get switched over to the new fuel, and we'll see how it shakes out.
But it looks like, Bob, another loophole has been closed.
It's very interesting. In the interest of fair reporting, Warren Johnson running on good years here this weekend. The Jegs team currently sitting on the top spot in the points after one race. Jeggy was dominant, actually ran Warren Johnson down out there at Pomona and did the same in a side-by-side qualifying run here earlier this week. And I talked to Warren. He said, my stuff just isn't running quite as well as I think it should be. And he's worried about this yellow Jegs team throughout the course of the 2000 drag racing season. Jeggy's going to be tough. Wes Cerny, one of the classic guys in Top Fuel, his guy Corey Mack. They're going to go for round one of Top Fuel when we come back to Firebird. Tony Schumacher getting pumped up, getting ready to climb into his 330-mile-an-hour missile as we get set for round number one of Top Fuel Eliminator here at the Checker Schuck's Kragen Nationals at Firebird Raceway. Don Lampus will be his first-round matchup opponent there, and Joe Amato, who's won this race before. In fact, he is your defending champion and a five-time Winston champ getting strapped in. It's just about showtime, ladies and gentlemen, here in the beautiful Valley of the Sun in Phoenix, Arizona. We'll take a look and see the cars that qualified. Look at that. The top four the same as Pomona, except Selzy and Amato trade places. Melanie Troxel makes her second field in a row. Corey Mack's in for a record 159th straight race. That's a record in Top Fuel. On the flip side, a couple of surprises here. Rhonda Hartman makes the field. Jim Bailey's in also. That's Doug Herbert's team car. And Robert Reel rides shotgun on this very quick field. Let's take a look at the way they're going to match up in the opening round here. We're going to take a look at the burnouts by the first pair. The Budweiser King, Kenny Bernstein, great onboard shot as he'll meet up with Bruce Litton in a rematch of round number one from Pomona just a couple of weeks ago. Robert Reel, the unenviable task of trying to beat Gary Selzy. How about this? Melanie Troxel and Rhonda Hartman, the first all-female Top Fuel match at Singletown back in 1998. On the B side of the ladder, Joe Amato looks to become the first repeat winner here since '87. Corey's beaten Bob Vandergriff in 11 of their 12 meetings, and Larry Dixon hopes to improve on his semifinal finish out in Pomona a couple of weeks ago. Mike Dunn, we got this first pair, the luck of the draw, the number 8 and 9 cars. Bruce Litton with Richard Hartman and Nick Bonifant were riding on board with Kenny Bernstein and the Budweiser King. A lot of pressure on Kenny. Did not really qualify that well until his last run.
No, Kenny definitely didn't have the qualifying session he was looking for. Bruce Litton, on the other hand, was probably very excited about his. He was very consistent in qualifying. Qualified with a 469. Kenny was a little bit better at a 468, but I think both these cars is pretty much an even race. You might have to give a little bit of an edge to Kenny just because of the experience.
Lane choice goes to the higher qualified car. The Budweiser King here in the near lane. Oh, that's a great shot. On board with the burnout from the Budweiser King. That is way cool. Well, Bruce Litton and Bernstein matched up out in Pomona, and it was a great run with Kenny just getting the win. Mike Dunn, you called it. Give the edge to Kenny Bernstein on experience. We certainly didn't expect to see two guys blow the tires off. 595 for Kenny Bernstein. The King goes to the next round. Let's go to Bobby Gerald.
And here is Lee Bird, the man that takes Kenny Bernstein to the next round. Congratulations.
Well, it wasn't what we were looking for, being the first car on the track here this morning. We didn't know what to expect. I got to give that Bruce Litton crew all the credit in the world. They ran awfully tough during qualifying, and we weren't taking them lightly at all. So we'll have to get this thing fixed and see who we can do next round.
Nice job, Lee. Bob?
Experience really paid off there, Mike Dunn, for the King.
No question about it. Both cars smoked the tires, as you can see on instant replay here. Kenny Bernstein, with all those runs under his belt, he actually spun the tires actually before Bruce Litton, but he's able to get the car to recover a little bit better. You see him get out of the throttle, get back in, and he got her to hook up first, and consequently that got him the win.
595 at 239 miles an hour. Look at this. They're both smoking. Litton was actually out in front at about half track, but the King puts it into high gear and runs him down and gets the win. 639, by the way, the numbers for Bruce Litton.
You know, sometimes it's better off being the car behind in a situation like that because you can see the other car in front and you can judge how much you have to get on the throttle to get by them. So a lot of times you'll see the guy in behind when they're smoking the tires go by and get the win.
How about that? Great win for the Budweiser King, Steve.
No one pedals a top field racer better than Kenny Bernstein. And Kenny, it looked like you anticipated that. You thought, I got to be ready for this.
Well, you have to be ready on race day, and I appreciate the nice comments. It's hard to do, let me tell you. Whether you're young, old, or medium, or small, big, it doesn't matter. It's tough out there. We just got lucky to get by it.
What you got to do is be patient. Let that car settle before it strikes the tires again.
Well, Kenny Bernstein striding into round number 2. They got the clock rolling already. Bobby Gerald caught up with the King earlier over there in the Budweiser pit area.
This year, with 15 minutes less to work with after rounds, teams do not have time to take the engine that was in the car apart and run it again. So what do? They have to have all their pieces and parts lined up and ready to go, all the way down to the accelerator cables, which have been cut and measured just in case something goes wrong. Now, as you go down the line, you'll see 3 engines. There's something you would have never seen in 1999. They are all out here and ready to go, all identical, and all should be as strong as the one that is currently in the car. That's the theory. Of course, if you're a race driver and you just ran a very quick lap, probably be wanting to go with that same engine that's in the car.
It's a very interesting rule as we get set to take on, watch the next pair. It's going to be Tim Gibson against Doug Herbert. Tim Gibson with the Bill Miller engineering team. Very bright guys here. Bill Miller makes a lot of the parts in the fuel cars here and in a lot of the Winston Cup cars, Mike.
Yeah, Bill does a great job manufacturing a lot of the piston and rods for a number of cars. But Doug Herbert, on the other hand, you know, this race is going to be a good race, but Doug should have a little bit of an edge. He ran real consistent qualifying, ran a 468, qualified ahead of Tim Gibson's 470, but definitely the consistency factor is going to be to Herbert's benefit. But, you know, we saw those first 2 cars, so you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, Doug bunched his runs all in that 470 range, and that's going to make you feel pretty good coming into this round of competition. Doug qualified number 6, as you saw on the ladder, and Tim Gibson, who's now a full-time John Force employee working on the aerodynamics on their car, checked in at number 11.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Gibson does a great job. He's very smart design. A lot of the superchargers that Bill Miller manufactures, a great supercharger. A lot of the top teams will run them, and he's also hired on as an engineer for John Force, and now I guess he's just driving the top fueler for part-time, I guess.
Mike, you've raced at this racetrack. You've always told me that far lane is pretty tricky. So far, both the higher qualified cars taking the near side of the track.
Yeah, I think you're generally going to see that, but generally on race day, the track does come around to where they're a lot more even than they are during the first qualifying session, but generally they're going to take the near lane.
Doug Herbert had a great 1999. He won 4 races. He won the Winston Noble Challenge for a $100 grand bonus. Got Larry Frazier calling the shots on this race car. Here's a guy that was giving you fits in that battle for the Winston crown last year.
Yeah, we went head-to-head with Doug quite a number of times, and he definitely whipped up on us a few times and hurt our chances, but I think we got him a couple times. But last year was just tremendous racing from all the top fuel competitors.
Look at that strange-looking scoop on the top of that Gibson car. Why?
That's a different type injector. I think the injector butterflies are actually parallel or horizontal to the opening in the supercharger versus being in front, and they think they get the airs quicker and actually helps a little bit on the reaction time.
Good, clean race till the end. I mean, a big fireball, another 4.7 second elapsed time for Herbert, right where he qualified. Gibson fired and fell back with a 5.24. Let's go down to the starting line. Bobby?
Well, a 4.78. Larry Frazier, you happy with that?
Yeah, I'd hope it'll run a little better, but I seen the problem Kenny had there, so that's probably a good run right now.
How is this near lane?
Pardon me?
How's the lane?
They looked okay earlier, but I don't know. It must be a little slick out there.
All right, congratulations. Moving on to the second round, Bob.
Larry Frazier's been around this for a long while. One of the great underrated crew chiefs, I think, in the sport, Mike.
No question, and he knows how to look at a racetrack. And what he's talking about here, he was a little bit concerned early in the run, but obviously Doug Herbert didn't have hardly any problems. He got right through that point where they tend to shake. Nice, clean run. He starts pulling away from Tim Gibson, who starts spinning the tires right there, and then it starts getting a little bit of engine damage. Doug Herbert, on the other hand, had engine damage, but luckily it was farther down the track, and he got the win.
This could be our first penalty during eliminations of the 2000 drag racing season. Big Flame, watch this. Do you have any idea what went wrong?
It's hard to say at this point. I mean, it looks like he had an explosion, so it's probably obviously a little bit more than just some burnt pistons. But
wow.
That's a good shot. Hopefully, a lot of the oil got burned up in the fire, so because a lot of times that does happen, as we see here again on instant replay. So, but generally when it's like that, there's definitely oil coming out of the motor somewhere.
Watch this. Oh, man. Woo! They come by in a hurry at real speed, don't they? That was so cool. Let's go down to Steve Evans.
Well, Doug Herbert is one more time thanking Big Daddy Don Garlitz for putting the driver in front of the motor. You couldn't see it, but that was a volcano.
Was it? I'll tell you what, I could feel it kick the rods out. All I got to say is we're happy to be going to second round for all my Snap-on guys. We've got a bunch of them out here, so we take them any way we can get them, I tell you that.
Well, they get great tools to fix it, Bob.
Yeah. Well, they're going to have $1,000 less in the bank account. That's going to cost them 10 Winston Championship points. You get 20 points for winning a round. Losing 10, that's like half a round. That can be costly as we go down the season. We got more Top Fuel after this. Oh, baby. sun in Arizona. They say it's a dry heat. I saw a coyote down there bursting into flames on the side of the road. Don't give me that dry heat stuff. Marvelous weather out here. Great crowd on hand here for the final of the Checker Schuck's Kragen Nationals. And we got a matchup, Mike, here featuring the IHRA World Champ, Don Lampus, and Tony Schumacher, the NHRA World Champ. They ran at it at Pomona. A great race. Tony Schumacher, of course, got the win right there. This ExpressAutoparts.com machine. This guy raced Baja. What are you, loco, man? This is a pretty good old driver here.
Yeah, Don Lampus has done a great job since the day he stepped into this car. He's ran real consistent in qualifying. He hasn't run the big number. Obviously, you know, Tony Schumacher qualifying with 467 and Don running a 472. You got to give the edge. I mean, Tony Schumacher and Dan Olson are very, very tough to beat first round. Last year, I think they only went out first round 2 or 3 times, and Dan Olson wants to always make sure first round that this car is going to go down the track, and Tony's a great driver. He's going to do his job. So Don Lampus, if he's going to beat Tony's going to have to earn it.
You saw how pumped up Tony was getting into his car in the staging lanes.
Yeah, Tony's always pumped. He's always ready. You know, he's always the guy that says, you know, when the pressure's on, give me the ball. I feel I can do the job. And last year he did the job. For the most part, all year, he was pretty much flawless. And, you know, consequently, that's why he won the championship. And the big part of why they won the championship is because how good they were at first round. So, like I said, Don Lampus is going to have his work cut out for him.
They only lost 3 times in the first round last year. Steve Evans, that was a big key to the success of this XI team, wasn't it?
It sure was. But I think the interesting thing about Don Lampus, he didn't see his first NHRA national event until 1997, when he reluctantly went with a friend to the U.S. Nationals. He saw his first pair of top fuel cars and said, that's me. You talk about a steep learning curve. This guy is awesome.
Mike, we talked about rivalries. Here's a guy that won the IHRA Tour last year against the Winston champ. Pretty intense rivalry, guarantee it. Lampus wants to punch out Tony, and Schumacher does not want to lose to the guy that won the IHRA crown last year.
Yeah, definitely, because, you know, Don Lampus, you know, winning on the IHRA circuit is obviously was a tribute to what that team was able to do, especially as new as he is to the sport. But like I said, he's going to have his work cut out for him, but it's going to be a good race.
He better not look past this, thinking about meeting up with Gary Selzy later on in this program. That could be a semifinal if they both advance. Don Lampus hopes that doesn't happen.
Yeah, they got to take each round, you know, each run round by round, and I guarantee that's what they're both doing at this point. They just want to get by this round, then they'll worry about the next.
They are by this round. 466, very business-like approach. Over 310 miles an hour. 523 for Don Lampus. In the interest of fair reporting, never really mounted a challenge that time. So Tony Schumacher takes the Excite car into round number 2, along with Kenny Bernstein and Doug Herbert. About the kind of performance you expected, Mike?
That's exactly what I was expecting. I'm sure that's exactly what Dan Olson was expecting. You see here on this replay, both cars leave the line together. Obviously, Don Lampus didn't quite have the power that he had in qualifying, and Tony Schumacher went out and ran the kind of number he was looking for, 466 at 310 miles an hour.
Slight advantage. I accent the word slight for Don Lampus off the starting line. Watch this. Well, they come by in a hurry. And at the end of the racetrack, I mean, it is just workmanlike performance is all I can say for this team. Again, they get out of the first round.
They are so good in the first round. I can't stress enough how hard that is to win those first round competitions, no matter how far or who your competition is. It's tough to win first round, and they do a great job.
Let's go down to the far end of the racetrack. Steve Evans.
A few butterflies flying out of your mouth there. Maybe you get rid of them now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what, first rounds are just real tough, you know. It's so important to go first rounds, and after last season, we know we got to get by the first rounds. It's consistency that wins it. But Team Excite, Matco Tools, Pennzoil, Gates Belts, everybody's done such a great job, and we're going to another second round. I'm excited.
And I guarantee you, Crew Chief Dan Olson wanted exactly a 466, mid-60.
The only 5-time NHRA Winston champ in top fuel coming up right now, Joe Amato, getting set to take on Jim Bailey. This team, Mike Dunn, has to feel that they let one get away at Pomona. They had the best car going into race day.
Yeah, I mean, they ran all through qualifying, all through the first 2 rounds of elimination, never smoked the tires, was the most consistent race car out there, and then smoked them in the semifinals. They definitely had the car to win there, and they let it go. So I guarantee you, Jimmy Prock, I mean, he's thinking about that, and he doesn't want to do that again. They've had a lot of good luck here in the past few years, won some races, and obviously the defending champion, so he's looking to repeat.
Jim Bailey's got his work cut out for him. Another racer coming over from IHRA. The team car for Doug Herbert in the far lane, qualified 15. And Joe Amato at 4.70. Jimmy Prock didn't look like he was overjoyed at that 307-mile-an-hour run. A lot of tire smoke in the far lane, but Amato's marching on, Bobby Gerald.
Yes, he is, and Bob Fry making the comment that you didn't look overjoyed with that one, but you are moving on.
Yeah, well, we were very fortunate, to say the least.
Well, Jimmy Prock and these new rules coming into effect there. As you can see, it's a quick interview, and they now have the 75 minutes to go make sure that they're ready for round 2.
Doesn't look happy, does he, Mike?
Well, you know, the reason he doesn't look happy is because Joe definitely was late on that run. He was definitely vulnerable there, and they were lucky to get the win.
He had a 6:47 reaction time, Steve Evans. Joe Amato finally with that power drove by a tire-smoking Jim Bailey. He may have gotten that one gift that he needs right here, Steve.
Well, that is certainly not typical of Joe Amato off the starting line, and Amato dedicating this season to the late Charles Schultz, the author of Snoopy. Has long been the motto of this car, the mascot of this car. So as Joe Amato takes his helmet off, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to the Checker Schuck's Kragen Nationals here at Firebird International Raceway.
Welcome back, everybody. Bob Fry, Mike Dunn, Bobby Gerald on the starting line, Steve Evans at the end of the racetrack. Robert Reel slated to take on Gary Selza. They got some problems in the Reel car, and Alan Johnson and the boys may get a freebie right here, Mike.
Yeah, that's a tough break for Robert Reel. You know, they just race part-time on a limited budget, but it looks like they've got the palm fixed, or they're at least going to go for it. Evidently, they had a lot of smoke coming out of the exhaust, but they're going to give it a shot and see what happens.
Down a quarter of a second in qualifying to Gary Selza. Wow, ran it well, did Reel to half track, but too much Alan Johnson power. 462 over 313 miles an hour in the 490 reaction time. Nice win. Selzy's going to round 2, Bobby.
Yes, he is, and here is Alan Johnson, and you'll match up with Kenny Bernstein in round number 2.
Yeah, he's a pretty good opponent to be against in the second round, so we'll have to keep it tuned up because I'm sure he's not going to detune it any.
All right, Alan Johnson and Gary Selzy moving on.
Lane choice goes to the car with the quicker time in the preceding round than by a bunch. That'll go to Gary Selzy. We talk about rivalries. Selzy and Bernstein, that is also a good one. Nice run here for Team Winston.
That's exactly what they were looking for. Gary got a good light, got off the line first. Nice smooth run, another low 460 pass. That's for the first round. You couldn't ask for much more.
Love that shot. And Alan Johnson, just like we saw at the top of the show, pumped the way his team's running. Steve?
You guys called that perfectly. I think that's all this track would hold, a 62.
You know what, Steve? That's pretty impressive. I thought the thing actually left pretty lazy and it got in some trouble. And it made it through. You know, Alan Johnson, he's got a handle on consistency right now.
Gary Selzy going to round number 2, and so is his son, Dominic.
David Grubnick and Larry Dixon will be the next pair coming up. David Grubnick, an interesting racer as he runs for John Mitchell. Let's find out more about the Aussie.
How does an independent team like John Mitchell's Mountain Express, that's John on the left, and new crew chief Jim Brissett combat this 75-minute rule? They don't have the unlimited resources of a Bernstein or an Amato, but they do have a very talented driver, and that would be Aussie Dave Grubnick. You're part of the crew. What's the plan?
As it stands now, we're going to service our engine straight after qualifying. They'll be ready to go. We'll pull them out of the car, and come Sunday, we'll just have 4 engines lined up here, and when we come back, we'll pull that engine out and throw another one straight in it.
And if you had 2 hours, it'd take 2.
Exactly. Drag races, if you've got 2 hours, it'll take 2 hours. If you've got 10 minutes, it'll take 10 minutes.
Jim Brissett right there, now the crew chief on this Grubnick machine against Larry Dixon. Dixon was beaten by an Australian in a stunning upset in round 1 here last year when Andrew Cowan took him out. Is Larry thinking about that, Mike?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, Larry's a good enough driver now. He's just mainly going to be focused on getting off the line good and just getting by this round. But, he's got to be concerned. Don Perdome, as he watches on there, watches his driver Larry pull in. He's wanting to get a win. They're not going to take these guys lightly. It's going to be a good race.
Yes, it is. Oh, man. Grubnick almost stole one right there, but a 468 for Larry Dixon to a 475 for David Grubnick. Great run. There are the numbers. How about that? The winner at 468, 317, and at 491 the reaction time. A wire-to-wire job there, Bobby Gerald.
Yeah, it was, and I tell you what, Dick LaHaye has the consistency going here. How about this? In their 4 qualifying runs, their best a 466, and the worst was a 473, and there's another nice pass.
Well, we're just trying to get up and down the racetrack here and win us a drag race. So
we just keep doing what we're doing, I guess.
Yeah, and that's working very well right now, Bob.
Dick LaHaye, the last guy to win this race, back-to-back in top fuel. Let's go to Steve Evans.
Well, Larry Dixon knows full well that the Aussie just about got you. That big LaHaye horsepower on the big end was the difference.
Yeah, Dick LaHaye's real strong. What'd we run?
467.
Dick LaHaye's great. We haven't won around here since I won this race back in '95, so getting by first round here, you know, maybe we can do it again like we did then.
Bob?
Very good drag race. David Grubnick trying to steal one on the far side of the racetrack, but a little bit too much Dick LaHaye horsepower. Prud'homme ownership, and how about the kid, Larry Dixon, getting the win. More coming up from Firebird. Coverage of the 2000 NHRA Winston Championship is being brought to you by the world's leader in brake pads, Wagner Brakes. Rhonda Hartman-Smith and Melanie Troxel, two females, match it up right here. First time since Englishtown in '98. Rhonda Hartman-Smith on the far lane. Melanie Troxel, good race car here in the near lane, Mike.
Yeah, Melanie's done a great job qualifying in the top half at both Pomona and here the first two races. She's done a real good job, and this is going to be a tough race.
Best race of the round, top end. Melanie Troxel just gets the win. 475, 316 miles an hour. She won that one on a hole shot. 4.70 quicker on the racetrack for Rhonda Hartman, the winner, Melanie Troxel. Bobby?
And here is Todd Smith, who calls the shots for Melanie. Nice job. You're moving on.
Thanks a lot. Looks like Melanie got us the win there on that one. It looked like it shook out there a little bit, and she pedaled it and got it there first, and that's what matters.
So Melanie Troxel goes on to round number 2.
Hole shots, reaction time in the starting line, Mike Dunso, very important.
I mean, this is all driver right here. She gets a leave out there. It shakes right there. She lifted, got back on it. Otherwise, it would have spun the tire. She saved the run. Not only did she leave first, but she saved the run and got the win. You got to credit her completely for that run.
Look at this. Rhonda Hartman-Smith was out in front till, well, the only spot on the track where it really matters.
Yeah, that was just a great race. There you can see her pedal right there. The car jerked a little bit. And then she had to come and drive around Rhonda Hartman-Smith, but it was a great race.
That speed. Coming, going. Melanie's coming into the second round. Rhonda's going to the trailer. Steve?
Melanie, that was a textbook drive. You had the starting line advantage, and it looked like you pedaled it.
Yeah, I definitely had to pedal it. Started shaking down track. I haven't had a lot of opportunity to do that with the 8-fuel car, so I'm learning as I go, and boy, she was out ahead of me, and I didn't think I was going to come back around her, and I can't say enough about what Todd Smith's done with his car. We don't have a major sponsor, so we're kind of on a budget, and we're just thrilled to be going to the second round.
If they find a major sponsor, that could be your Rookie of the Year.
Car's owned by Jerry Darian and Ken Meadows. Now here comes a matchup that on paper, Mike, you would have to think favors this guy, Corey McClanahan. He's faced Bob Vandergrift 12 times in his career, beaten him 11 times.
Well, that's a tough stat to beat, I think. But, you know, Bob Vandergrift, he's not thinking about that. He's just thinking about trying to get this win. He's done a good job. This is a good car. Johnny West is his crew chief. They're still trying to work out. They haven't secured major sponsorship yet. They're still working on that. They're trying to run a few races until they get something. But they got a tough road to hoe, you know, with Corey Mack. Corey Mack is the ultimate in driving drivers, I think. I think he's one of the best drivers out there. He's the most intense driver out there. He's always on time. He makes very few mistakes. So if this car goes down the track, Wes Cerny, you know, he can tune the car. It's going to be a good race.
4 times Corey Mack has finished runner-up in the battle for the Winston Championship points. That's Wes Cerny, and again, I would say one of the underrated crew chiefs in the sport. Johnny West with the Bob Vandergrift car. Johnny's from out this neck of the woods. Might he have a little home court advantage?
Well, he's raced on this track many times as a driver himself, so there's a little bit of an advantage there, but it's going to be tough. You know, this track's a little bit tricky, but both drivers, I think, will be up for the challenge here.
Corey, the higher qualified of the two by just a couple of hundredths. Bob Vandergrift gets the win at 472 to Corey's 477. Vandergrift was first out of the starting gate, and he never looked back. So that stat, remember, it was 11-1. It's now 11-2. Nice run for Bob Vandergrift.
That was a great run for Bob. You know, he left first, got the advantage off the starting line, and that car just ran right down there through the middle and got the win.
Give them a lot of credit. Pretty good run right here. I don't think Corey was looking for a 77 out of his car.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't. That car was definitely down on horsepower. Even though Bob got a slight advantage on it, you can see here in the middle of the course that Vandergrift just pulled away in the middle, and Corey was looking for a little extra horsepower that he didn't have at that time.
He won it by a car length. Bob Vandergrift, 72, not as good as where he qualified, but good enough to take out the MBNA car of the coach, Joe Gibbs, here in round number 1. Great, quick first round of Top Fuel here at the Checker Schuck's Kragen National. Let's go to the far end of the track. Steve?
Safety Safari on hand, a small fire at the front of the motor on the Bob Vandergrift Jr. car. Bobby getting his helmet off here in just a second, and we'll talk to him. He's got to be really pleased. As you said, he doesn't have major sponsorship this year, running primarily the West Coast races. 472, not bad.
That's a good run for our team. We're just out here trying to hang in until our sponsorship deal comes together. And, I got to thank the Haldex group for getting us here. Without their support, none of this would be possible.
And that 472, not quite good enough for lane choice over Joe Amato.
Vandergrift coming off a DNQ out in Pomona. He was the 1994 NHRA Rookie of the Year. We got another Rookie of the Year coming up in the funny car category in just a little bit. So nice job for Bob Vandergrift. Take a look at the way they're going to match up in round number 2 after a very brisk opening stanza here in Top Fuel out here at Firebird Raceway. This is the second stop on the 24-race NHRA Winston Tour. Still trying to take a look at Bobby's car. Gary Sells against Kenny Bernstein. Great matchup coming up. And how about Tony Schumacher against the whole shot artist Melanie Troxel in only her second race in Top Fuel. Over on the other side of the ladder, of course, we just mentioned Bob Vandergrift against Joe Amato. Lane choice by a couple to Amato, and Dixon and Herbert. Another very good matchup in round number 2. We got the funny cars lining up for their first round. It'll be Frank Pendragon and Dale Worsham when we come back. First pair of round 1 of funny cars coming up from Firebird Raceway. A little cleanup out there on the racetrack. Mike Dunn, we saw 2 drivers that had oil downs in this round. That'll cost them money and points with those new rules.
Yeah, that's going to make a difference. That's the first time since Pomona that anybody's been fined during elimination. So, we'll see what happens there.
Let's take a look at the way they qualified. Ron Capps, 6th number 1 qualifying spot, 2nd the last 3 races. Forrest has made 232 races in a row, and Dale Worsham's going to try to show off for his sponsors here at this race. On the flip side of the ladder, the second 9, Jim Epler, the WWF car, heads up that second half. Scotty Cannon will race for the first time this year. That's good news for the Oakley fans. And Kristen Powell and Al Hoffman have their Pontiac running very well. The luck of the draw right here. The first pair, Dale Worsham, sponsored by Checker, Schucks, and Kragen, the event sponsor, fielding 2 cars. His other car is Frank Pendragon, and they're going to meet up. How about Capps and Gilbertson coming up? Tony Pendragon beat Gary Densham 6 times last year. Gary will try to turn it around, and the Worsham-Pendragon matchup. How about that for the luck of the draw? Over on the second side, Johnny Gray will meet Johnny Force for the first time in his career. Jerry Tolliver and Kristen Powell, it's like Beauty and the Beast. Sorry, Jerry. And Al Hoffman burned his car to the ground here in 1993. He'll try to do better against Whit Basemore's Chevrolet in round 1. This is a very good ladder.
Yeah, definitely. In this race here, you got both the Checker, Schuck's, Kragen cars racing each other. And, normally with team orders, you would think that maybe the owner of the car, Dale Worsham, would definitely get the win. But I think what happens with these teams, I don't know this for a fact, but in the early part of the season, most of the 2-car teams are going to race for it. Maybe as it winds down the end of the year, if one guy's in contention, you may see something where the car will, mysteriously smoke the tires right at the head of the throttle. But I don't think you're going to see here. I think you're going to see these 2 race for it.
Steve, how about this draw for round number 1, huh?
I talked to Chuck Worsham this morning, and he said he told the other crew, he said, if you guys had qualified 1 spot lower or higher, I'd give you our 495 combination, but you didn't, and I'm not.
Oh, they both smoke. They both smoke. Worsham got very close to the center line. I couldn't tell from our vantage point. If you touch or go over that center line, you can be disqualified. A lot of smoke from both cars. On this track, Worsham got to the quarter-mile mark first at a 6:39. Let's go down to Bobby Gerald at the starting line.
Well, here's Chuck Worsham. I know that wasn't what you wanted there, but hey, you're moving on.
No, I guess it just didn't quite hold in the middle. I guess we proved we're here to race our other team, so driver did a great job for Checker, Schucks, and Kragen.
I know you can't even see who won there. There was so much smoke down here you couldn't see the win light.
No, I'm just being told we won. You still can't tell, really.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Unbelievable. They both smoked the tires. They had no idea this was going to happen, Mike.
Oh, this is a great race. I mean, they didn't get the numbers they were looking for, but obviously smoking the tires here. Dell smokes them. Frank smokes the tires, too. And when he gets back on the throttle, if you can look at it from this angle, he actually picked the front end back up, and then he got back out of it again when he got back in it. So it was really exciting. Dale obviously gets sideways. There's Frank picking the front end back up and then has to get back out of it. Dale gets real close to the center line, as you said, but he's able to keep the car under control and go through for the win.
That's one of many reasons I'm an announcer. And look, the crew going, who won? Who won? Steve?
Who won is right. Tell the fans at home what you just went through.
I'll tell you what, I went through just one incredible drag race there with our teammate Frankie Pettergon, Checker Schuck Kragen. We smoked the tires. I just pedaled and everything I could to get the finish line first. We are racing these cars. There's no gimmies here. We're racing side by side, and I did whatever I could to win that race.
You had to be worried about the center line, not crossing.
Absolutely. That's why I got off, and then I got it straight down enough. I tried to take another blur. Stack it one more time.
Round 2 down.
Another blurb, that must be a technical term. We had a Rookie of the Year in Top Fuel, one there in the funny car category. Here's the car that's just been on fire this weekend. I mean, the Chevrolet machine of Ron Capps from Don Perdome, Ed McCullough, the crew chief. This team is loaded.
I mean, Ed McCullough's done a great job with this team. You know, he coming over from the Top Fuel ranks with Connie Coletta. He just took to this funny car just like it was nothing, basically. And to run the kind of numbers he did on 90% in qualifying, a 489 and a 485, those are great numbers. Now, the thing is, they ran pretty good at Pomona, and they got taken out in the first round, and they're probably thinking about that a little bit, and they don't want to make that same mistake, but yet they still want to go out there and they want to run a decent number, but they don't want to give the thing away. It's still going to be a tough race for them.
Look at that. It's a beautiful day out here in Phoenix. Certainly not a lot of breeze, Mike, as you can tell from that shot.
Yeah, the smoke's definitely overhanging like that, but you know, that's a great shot. That's what it's all about. The burnouts of funny cars. That's the fun part of driving a funny car, is doing the burnouts. I think any driver will tell you that, because you get that smoke in the cockpit. It's just a lot of fun.
Steve, you used to pay guys for doing big burnouts at some of the Southern California tracks, huh?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We got quarter-mile burnouts. I asked Ed McCullough this morning what would make him happy in round 1. He said a wind light with a 495 and life would be wonderful.
Wait, you think this track can hold a 95 with this heat?
Well, you got a car here that ran 485, so, you know, even though the track has the sun beating down on it, it's still not, you're not seeing the sun on for a long time during the day, so I think it's possible to run a 495 in this track.
Bob Gilbert's in the Trick Tank machine, tuned by Paul Smith, went to the semis at Indy last year. This is not a gimme, although Capps appears to be the prohibitive favorite.
Well, he's definitely the favorite, but like you said, it is no gimme.
It is now. Wow, 492. That's why they pay those crew chiefs the big bucks, over 300 miles an hour. Bobby?
That's why they pay the crew chiefs the big bucks right there to turn that 492. Ace, nice job.
Well, that was a nice run out here. We knew that we had to go down the racetrack. We felt that if we could run a 495 to a 490, we'd be in good shape. So it did that. We're happy. Let's make it to the next round.
Ron Capps, the #1 qualifier yesterday, moving to round 2, Bob.
Ed McCullough, one of the most versatile drivers. He's won Indy and just about every other race in Top Fuel and Funny Car. His guys in round number 2. We got more first round Fuel Funny Car from Firebird coming up next. Stick around.
Just when you thought it was safe to go back on the highway, The Lost Drive-In presents a lunatic speedster. It's just part of my nature. In an epic car chase full of surprises. Don't blow it. Watch Vanishing Point next Saturday at The Lost Drive-In.
Welcome back, everybody. We're getting set for the next pair, John Force and Johnny Gray. The matchup right here. John Force, he is the man. Let's take another look at him and see how he's approaching his race.
Well, the rumors are true. John Force has added a third funny car to his stable. And, John, how do your competitors feel about this?
Well, a lot of them were aggravated coming in, but bottom line, all you got to do is look at this car. It has no corporate signage on it. It's a test vehicle. It's going to test on Monday or Tuesday. Tony and myself's going to be in the car. Now, we're focusing on the Castrol and Syntec Mustangs to try to win this race, strictly testing.
For John Force, this is an investment in the future of funny car racing.
Mike Dunn, what's a guy like Johnny Gray thinking? It's his second race in Fuel Funny Car, qualified at Pomona. He's in the far lane, and he gets John Force in round 1. Some fun, huh?
Yeah, come here in your second race and have to run John Force. But what he's thinking right now, he knows that John Force is awfully tough. So he's basically going to go out there and just try to do his job. He just doesn't want to make any mistakes. He knows he's got a tough road to put, ahead of him to try to get by John. But if he can go out there and not make any mistakes and run a decent number, and if he still gets beat, I think he would still be happy with the result, because he is new and he's just still trying to build a team up at this point.
Johnny Gray, the first guy over 200 miles an hour in a competition eliminator car. He also being tuned by Paul Smith, looking for some sponsorship. He's in the oil business out in New Mexico. Probably a very short list of Fuel Funny Car winners from New Mexico, Mike.
Yeah, I don't think there's very many, is there?
It's not even a list at all. John Force has done just about everything in the sport. He's won this race 5 of the last 6 times. Wasn't really qualified that well until the 3rd round on Saturday, but you got to like his chances right here.
They can't take Johnny Gray lightly. He's ran some decent numbers. That car can't run 5.0s, and if he goes out there and runs a 5.0 and John makes one mistake, they could get him. So once again, it's not a gimme, but Force is definitely helping the favor.
497, very conservative, and that's probably what Austin wanted to do. 309 miles an hour. Johnny Gray smoked the tires right on the starting line. Speaking of the starting line, here's Bobby.
And here is Bernie Federle. And Bernie, a 497. Was the idea there to go conservative?
Yes, it was, actually. We didn't want to press and get blown out of this deal. We needed that first round. So, yeah, we're pretty much on course, I think. Hopefully we can pick it up when we need to.
John Force, as Bob mentioned, has won here 5 of the last 6 years.
Mike, a classic case of racing your opponent, huh?
Yeah, and it's really hard to do, race that first round. It's always a tough round, and then to actually try to detune that thing because you run the risk of shaking the tires and actually getting beat by having it too soft.
Yep, let's get down to Steve Evans.
Well, you've heard John Forrest say it many times. I hate racing the new guys because you never know what they're capable of. And John, at 497 was real nice and took care of the man from New Mexico.
Well, boy, we thought it was going to just be junk, and dragsters doing what they were doing. Then all of a sudden, McCullen, the kid, they run 92. So old Coyle just said, get her down through the alley, and she was smooth as glass.
Perfect run.
4.97 seconds for John Force, looking for his 10th Winston Championship. And, of course, he and Warren Johnson still thinking about running down Bob Glidden. Glidden won 85 national events, a record everybody thought was unreachable years ago. John's got 81. Warren Johnson's got 79. Not only will one guy pass it, 2 guys are probably going to pass Glidden's mark, Mike.
Yeah, that's amazing. I never would have thought that that record would get beaten. And John, I don't think he even won his first race till 1987. Most of his wins come in the 90s, so that's a pretty amazing feat that he's done.
Let's go back down to the starting line. Bob?
Here's John Stewart, who, of course, is with the Jim Epler team, part of the WWF racing team. And you've been taking a real good look here at this near lane. What is it telling you?
The track's looking pretty good today. I'm just trying to pick a spot up here for us to go down and hopefully make a nice run out here today. It's getting a little hot today, so we're a little bit worried about that, but it looks pretty good.
You guys going for a big number here in the first round, going just a little consistent?
I'd like to run about a mid-90, hopefully.
All right, we'll see what they can do. Epler coming up against Burkhart before too awful long.
You'd like to run a mid-90 if the guy in the other lane's running a 5.0. This will be a great matchup. The WWF bad guy against Sweetness, Kristen Powell, when we come back to the Checker Shucks Kragen Nationals in Phoenix, Arizona. We're getting set for what I think will be one of the more intriguing matchups of round 1 at the Checker Shuck Kragen's Nationals. There's Kristen Powell driving for Helen Hoffman in the Pontiac Redline oil machine. That's Helen right out in front of the race car. She does a great job, does a lot of the mechanical work on this race car. Taking on Jerry Tolliver, who has won 2 straight races here with the WWF car, Mike.
Yeah, Dale Armstrong and Bob Brooks have done a great job, but Kristen Powell, she's looking to upset them. The car's been a little bit inconsistent. They do smoke the tires quite a bit, but you do have Ronnie Swearingen and Helen Hoffman over there calling the shots. Kristen could definitely drive the car, so it's not inconceivable that they can go out there and run a good number. Although, it's still going to be pretty tough. Jerry Tolliver, on the other hand, has had that consistency coming into not only this round, but from the last race, so he's looking pretty good at this point.
Mike, 3 pair of funny cars. Nobody's gotten down the far side of the racetrack. That would have to favor this guy as we're riding on board with Jerry Tolliver.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's in the back of the mind of Kristen and Ronnie Swearingen, especially being that the car was a little bit inconsistent qualifying. Jerry Tolliver, on the other hand, he's not going to worry about that. He just wants to get down his lane. He wants to get that car from A to B as quick as it will go, do his job on the lights, and let the numbers speak for themselves. If he does everything, he should give this win.
Lost in all the hoopla about Brian Capp's Chevy running low ET and everything. For the 2nd race in a row, Tolliver has set a career best. He ran 491 in Pomona. Qualified with a 490 right here. Basically, nobody even spoke about that. He backs it up.
Yeah, and that's pretty good. That considering that's a 90% rule, he actually ran quicker this year as he backs up from his burnout. This is a great shot here. You see him holding the brake and turning the wheel based on what the crew chief's telling him. This is a lot of fun too, just backing these cars up. Funny cars are great. I'm getting off the subject here, but I just love these funny cars. I love driving. I always have. They're my favorite cars to drive. And this is just a great shot. It's going to be a good race, I think.
Kristen Powell, the 9th woman to ever hold an NHRA license for fuel funny cars. And there's Helen. Traditional pat on the fender, closes the hatch just like she did for so many years with her husband Al Hoffman. find out if that Pontiac in the far lane can get off the starting line, something nobody else has done in this first round. The Fuel Funny car. Great shot on board with the WWF car. Very careful stage, Mike. Jerry Tolliver, the WWF guy, muscles himself to a win. It was close. 5:02 Tolliver. Game effort of 5:11 for Kristen Powell. There are the numbers. 3:07 for Jerry Tolliver, and only a couple of hundredths advantage there. Great job. Bobby Gerald, the WWF Bad Boys marching on.
Yes, they are, and here is Dale Armstrong. How'd you evaluate that run?
Oh, good, safe first round. I thought it would go a little faster or a little quicker. But he staged it a little deep, so that took a little bit away from us. But that's okay for a first round.
All right, they are riding the momentum of their win at Pomona, Bob.
Mike, tell us about that deep staging, how it affects these guys.
Well, what Dale was talking about there is Jerry, when you go into stage and you drop that turn that second bottom light on, he just rolled her in a little bit deeper. What that does, it gives him a better reaction time, but it'll actually slow the elapsed time. So in essence, if he was in 200 or 300 deep, that was actually maybe a 498, 499 run, but it gave him a good reaction time. But all in all, it was still a good job. I mean, he did a good job. He left on time. Kristen, though, she was right there, too. You know, and they got that car down the track, and that was kind of a big concern for me, but she didn't have any problem. If Jerry would have made any mistake at all, he was there for the taking.
Yep, she ran a 5:11, better than qualifying numbers. You can't ask for much more than that. Boy, you can see the heat coming up off the track, Mike.
Yeah, this is a great shot as they start moving around a little bit down track. Jerry Tolliver's cars, you can see, was straight as an arrow.
Kristen threw the burst panel off right there in the traps and everything, so we may have to slow on. Looks like a real shot, Mike. Is that what it's like?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it looks like. You get a little bit of vibration in there, and you can see that acceleration. And that's an e-ticket ride there.
Then it's very quiet down there at the far end of the racetrack. Steve?
I always do my interviews with Jerry Tolliver as arm's length, because you never know when he might body slam you. A 5:02.
5:02. Well, you know, hey, we had to get down this track, and we backed off. Want to be real safe for first round. So the WWF Stone Cold Steve Austin's funny car is going to second round. We're happy.
The last thing the macho wrestlers needed was to get beat by a girl.
Getting beat by anybody will hurt right now the way your car's running. Gary Densham in the Automobile Club of Southern California, NEC car getting set to go. Tony Pedregon will be in the other lane. Gary had a fun time between Pomona and this week. Here's a little bit more about that. Gary Densham, driver of the Automobile Club of Southern California, funny car, solidified his title recently as the world's fastest school teacher. Gary got to ride with the U.S. Navy Blue Angels at the Naval Air Facility in El Centro, California. And watch this baby take off.
Oh, my God.
7.2 Gs. And a fun ride. That's what 64,000 horsepower feels like. Yes, we made it, guys. From all of us in the world of drag racing, we salute the U.S. Navy Blue Angels. Thanks for taking the teacher for a fast ride. What a kick that had to be. Gary Densham said, I thought I had the best job in the world, but after working with those Blue Angels, he said they couldn't have been nicer. Gary Densham with a career best at 495. We just saw one car get off the starting line of that far lane, Mike. That's got to make Gary and Larry Myers, crew chief, and that team feel a little bit more confident going off against Pedregon.
Oh, I'm sure it does. You know, obviously they don't have any choice of what lane they're going to get, but you know, watching Kristen go down the track, they got to feel better about that. Larry Meyer, who worked with me last year on our Darrell Gwentop Fuel dragster, very, very capable. He's very savvy crew chief. He knows how to work on these cars.
John Force smiling, putting those shades on. He's already advanced into the next round. There have been no upsets so far in the first 4 pair of Fuel Funny cars. Only one in top fuel. That was Bob Vandergriff upsetting Corey. Tony Pedregon made his debut driving the Geronimo car for Larry Minor back here in '95. He's beaten Gary Densham 6 straight times.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. And I'm sure Gary's probably thinking about that, but he's still going to go out there and basically, as a driver, you got to do your job. Tony's very, very good on the lights, so it's going to be an interesting race.
Tony Pedregon was there for the taking. He runs a 585, and Gary Densham just didn't have anything for him on the far side of the racetrack. So the Ford car of Pedregon advances into the next round with numbers that are anything but awe-inspiring. 585, 227 speed. Not what they were looking for, Bobby.
No, it wasn't. Here's John Medlin, and John, not what you were looking for, but nevertheless, moving on.
Yeah, it wasn't what we were looking for. Tony did a good job. He won that one for us. Looks like we're a little over aggressive there. We're going to have to tune her down a little bit.
All right. We'll see John Medlin again in round number 2. team.
The luck of the draw there, 585 will get lane choice because they got Dale Worsham in the next round, Mike. What went wrong?
Well, it looks like they just went out there and probably possibly rattled the tires right there. You saw Pellet start to recover, did an excellent job on that first one, but then it got loose again. And probably it just overpowered the track the second time, and it's a little bit harder to catch it when it does that. But he did a great job of getting off it and getting back on it and just throttle down there to get the win.
Not a lot unlike Dale Worsham's run, Steve.
Well, Tony, you won that one with your right foot. Great job.
I told the guys, I radioed in, apologized for getting in it so many times, but every time I tried to roll back in the throttle, I just didn't want to hear about it. It kicked them right back loose, but Syntec did its job, and we're just happy to get by that.
We'll be right back to the Valley of the Sun for more NHRA Championship drag racing.
I'm Mario Andretti, and you're watching Speed Vision.
Welcome back, everybody. Round number 1, Fuel Funny Car here at Firebird Raceway. Very interesting matchup. On board with Whit Bazemore, driver of the Kendall Motor Oil Chevrolet. He's got your father in the other lane, Big Jim Dunn and Al Hoffman, a combination that I think could prove lethal.
Well, I definitely agree with that because, you know, Al Hoffman, he wants to win bad, and my dad, he's got the budget to run good, very good. You know, you got Kim LaHaye here pulling up Whit Bazemore on the starting line. She's very good at doing the clutch on the car and has a lot of input on how this car runs. But they're going to have their work cut out for them. My dad and Al Hoffman run Para 497 to qualifying. They're going to be ready for the task.
We talked about the women in Top Fuel earlier. Kim LaHaye ran Top Fuel right here at this race a couple of years ago, believe it or not.
Yeah, not only can she work on it, but she can drive it, too. Heck, I'd hire her to do the clutch on my car. She's good.
Very interesting matchup. On board right now. Final preparations. That's the car owner, Chuck Etchels, who's won here at this race before. Very good matchup right here. Number 6 and number 11 qualifiers. Hoffman made great runs on both Friday and Saturday in qualifying. As advertised, a good run, and there's Big Jim Dunn. I'm not going to say he was smiling, but he gets the win at 5:12. Whit Bazemore, 5:32. There's the arithmetic. The real story was that Al Hoffman's car stayed lit the entire quarter mile, Bobby.
Well, Big Jim Dunn celebrating his 50th anniversary in the sport and going to round 2.
Yeah, that was fun. You know, we dropped a cylinder, so we'll pick it up a little bit for next round.
A lot of people think that you can really give some people fits here with teaming with Hoffman this year.
Yeah, we got a good team. We got a good driver, and we got a little bit of money to spend on it, so we're going to go after him.
All right. Bob?
He owned the car that won Indianapolis last year. Used to run a Fiat Altered and a rear-engine funny car, which we will not talk about. Good run for Big Al.
Yeah, this is definitely a good run until it put a cylinder out. Both cars, Whit got a little bit off the line, but as you can see here, Al Hoffman's got the cylinder out on the right side. That cost him a little bit, but Whit Bazemore was having more problems, and so consequently, Al was able to get the win.
Yeah, you can see the dead cylinder there for a long while.
Yeah, and you could actually see the car move over towards the wall, and that cylinder went out. The exhaust from the other side actually pushed the car over to the wall, and he had to do a little bit of driving there, but Al is great at getting the car down the track.
On board here, just like the real deal?
Just like the real deal here. Here he is down there, and right now he's wishing he had a little bit more than he's seeing Al Hoffman go by.
You got those onboard cameras. If you're seeing the guy in the other lane, not good. That's about as excited as we'll see Jim Dunn. Well, maybe. Steve?
Al Hoffman, you just got high praise from Jim Dunn. He said you were a good driver. That's as good as it gets from him.
Well, I'm trying to do my job because he's a good tuner. We had a little problem. It felt like it dropped the cylinder and started moving around, but hey, it's a win light. That's my first one this year. And with Jim Dunn racing and Moon Eyes and Redline Oil Pontiac, I can't say enough about this new 2000 Pontiac. You can drive it into marbles and it sticks.
I can't wait to see him race his wife's car, Bob.
Well, it's not going to happen this weekend because his wife's car lost in the opening round. Here comes Scotty Cannon, the big Oakley machine on the far side. Mohawk and all, and Dean Scusa. Now, Scusa with the Matco Tools car here in this lane. I'm telling you, they let one get away out there in Pomona, but they qualified very well and blew the tires off in the opening round.
They're definitely thinking about that because they didn't do a whole lot better in qualifying. They ran a 5 flat, but they smoked the tires on all the other runs, so it's got to be a big concern on their part that could happen again. Scotty Cannon, on the other hand, that last session ran a great 501. He was struggling a little bit up to that point. Hopefully, he's hoping he's got a handle on it that he can go out there and repeat. If he can do that, Scusa can run better than a 5 flat and beat him. Well, he's going to give it to him, but this should be a good race. They're pretty evenly matched. Hopefully nobody smokes tires and they both get down the track.
Don Scusa right there. That's Dean's dad. Celebrated his birthday. That's Lance Larson, the crew chief. He is the godfather to Dean Scusa's son. Great operation right here. The Big O in the far lane, looking to get on track here in the year 2000. How bounce. Oh, look out. Whoa, saw that stuff coming out of the race car. Jimbo Ermolovich celebrating. I didn't think Scotty was going to hold on long enough for the win, but he wins his first round of the year, 5.38. Scusa had a 7.59. When I saw that popping and banging out of that car, I'm like, I thought Scusa might run him down.
Well, I thought so too. It was definitely laboring down there, but he got back on the throttle and it recovered. And we can see here, you know, Dean gets off the line good, but then he gets in that tire smoke like he's done so many times in qualifying in at Pomona. Scotty's able to start pulling away, but then he starts mixing the throttle, the cylinders up. You can see the motor start to go away. He probably looks over, doesn't see Dean. He gets back on, even though he's probably getting a little bit lower in the seat when he does that, when the motor sounds like that.
That's called winning ugly. Maybe there isn't any ugly win. Now you're going to take a look at this from both vantage points right now. You're going to see what it's like to win and lose one of these things from the crew chief's point of view. Lance Larson, man, 2 races in a row, we should have been going on. And on the other side, yep, Jimbo marching into round 2. Great matchup in the next round. Steve Evans, Force, and Scotty Cannon.
Well, Scotty, the nitro mater was trying to blow up.
Yeah, man, I didn't have to pedal. That's the first time we got through there having the pedal thing. I said, oh, I'm on my way here. And then I guess it come off the concrete, and it seems like it's a little bit loose. I mean, we just had to come back and make a couple changes and get out of here. It's a lot better than last race. Wasn't it, huh?
Yeah, 100% better. Maybe 1,000.
It's our 3rd rookie of the year we've seen here. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. We got Jim Epler and Phil Burkhardt, WWF and Nitro Fish. Final pair, round 1 from Firebird when we come back. The final pair, round 1, Fuel Funny Cars. That's Phil Burkhardt in the Nitro Fish machine. They won the race in Columbus last year and rapidly becoming a real fan favorite. They got Jim Epler in the WWF machine for competition. The 2 closest match cars were on board with Jim Epler, who qualified 9th, the Nitro Fish in the H-Spot.
You know, it's interesting here, the crew chief on Phil Burkhart's car is Wayne Duke, who was a crew chief for Jim Epler last year with the WWF car. Took him to the final round at Indy and a number of great showings towards the end of the year. So there might be a little bit of a rivalry right here. I think Wayne may want to have a little payback here.
This might be a more intense rivalry than any of the drivers we've seen so far. Absolutely right. Wayne Dupuis did a great job with the WWF car for Jim Epler last year. Burkhardt just got edged out in the close round out in round 1 in Pomona. Great race, and Jim Epler at 498 takes out Phil Burkhardt's 503, throwing the reaction times about 100th at the finish line. Great job right there. Bobby Gerald, best run of the round.
That was a good race, John Stewart.
Yeah, that was a good race. We put that new Camaro body on there Saturday, and it's really seemed to help us down on the other end. We made a couple of changes, and with the money WWF's given us, we hope to go a long ways today.
All right, we'll see Jim Epler versus Ron Capps in round 2, Bob.
That was the only upset, if you can call it that. The number 8 and 9 cars going at it, and this is a great run right here, Mike.
Excellent run. Phil Burkhardt gets a slight lead, jump off the starting line. Both run about the same 60 foot, so Jim Epler has to run them down, but that great power from the WWF car drives around him a close race. This is what it's all about.
Wow. Wins it by just about a fender. Couple of hundreds on the track at speed. It really is a pick-em as they come by the quarter mile. You think they know who won?
It was pretty close. You know, when it's going 100ths of a second, you can't see. This is like you said, if he could have saw him out of the corner of his eye, he knew he was beat. But that race being that close, neither one of them knew who won. That
really looks like they're riding down a bumpy road. John Stewart, part of the Krager 5-second club. Top fuel guy from a long time ago. Great first round, Steve.
Oh, boy. That was a classic right there. Take a deep breath, man. Did you know if you'd won for sure when you crossed the stripe?
Boy, I think I ran it out the back door a long ways. I've been having nightmares about old Doopy over there. That's my whole WWF team from last year, so those guys are going to be tough. But this Tolliver team with John Stewart, Terry Manzer, and Dale Armstrong, I mean, it's a dream team. I'm just really to be happy to win that deal.
498. There's Burkhardt.
The 2 WWF cars on opposite sides of the ladder. They have both advanced for the first time here in Y2K. Going to take a look at the matchups. Cap still in the driver's seat with that Chevy. Takes on Epler. Tony Pedregon and Dale Worsh from the Tire Smokers. We'll go at it in round number 2. On the second side, how about John Force and Scotty Cannon? Talk about rivalries. They were mouthing at each other from the start of the '99 season. And Jerry Tolliver trying to become the first guy besides John Force to win 3 races in a row since 1992 when Cruz Pedregon did it, and he's got Al Hoffman in the next matchup. Hey, that's your dad. We'll talk more about that. We got Pro Stocks coming up from the Valley of the Sun. Got a lot of Pro Stocks and a lot of sun here at Firebird. Welcome back, everybody. Final eliminations here at the Checker Schuck's Kragen Nationals, presented by Pennzoil at Charlie Allen's Firebird Raceway. Here's the way they qualified. Kurt Johnson, #1 for the 16th time in his career. And out of those guys in the top 8, only Ron Krischer has never won an NHRA National Championship event. Richie Stevens has now made the field for 1 full year. Let's take a look at the flip side here in the 9 to 16 category. And look at this. Troy Coughlin, runner-up here in 99. Tom Martino, runner-up in 96. Larry Morgan, runner-up in 93. You see a pattern developing? And Jamie Yates, Jim's kid, makes his 2nd field. First one since Virginia a year ago. And the parents here in the opening round, we're going to take a look at the kid. Second-generation racers, Kurt and Jamie, going at it. Mark Powell and Tommy Martino. Bruce Allen trying to win his first race, believe it or not, since 1992. And on the other side, we got 4 guys who have never won in pro stock. Vieri Gaines, Ron Krischer, Mike Trumbull, and George Marnell. Maybe today will be their day. Mike, I got to tell you, the first couple of rounds of the fuel category is pretty much as expected. I mean, the Vandergriff over Corey, the only real thing close to an upset we saw.
Yeah, it went, it was pretty much scripted as we thought it would be. But I'll tell you one thing, what I did see that I did like was towards the end of the session that far lane started to come in a little bit better, obviously with Epler running that 498. And it's a big concern, I know, with the pro stock drivers.
Richie Stevens running with Warren Johnson Power. He had the best run during the last qualifying round yesterday. He came from out of the field all the way in at the number 8 spot. And Greg Anderson running for the Troy Humphrey machine with engines from Mark Powell and Summit. He was the crew guy for Warren Johnson during a lot of the heydays and ran Warren in the finals at Indy last year. An unbelievable scenario. So round 1, pro stock cars. And again, the staging so important here because top to bottom, there were only 0.06 of a second between those 16 cars. Great move, Anderson. He might have stolen one from the kid right on the line. Top end of the racetrack, yes indeed. How about that? His 2nd whole shot win of the year. 7:04 beats a 6:97 when we add up all the time. And there's his wife on the starting line. This race, a virtual dead heat at the finish line. Add up the reaction times, time on the track. What a great way to start pro stock. 7:04 beats a 6:97. Richie Stevens, the kid, out of here in round 1. Wow.
You know, pro stock is so important for that reaction. I mean, as obviously we see from that particular run, but a 422 light by Greg Anderson, that is a fantastic light for definitely for pro stock or for any car. And to get that kind of a launch and to be able to win it with a 7:04, that was a great win.
Unreal. What a great way to start things out here in the pro stock category. So Greg Anderson gets the win, and Richie Stevens, the good news, his car ran well. The bad news, he's going home. Ron Krischer in the near lane, the Eagle 1 Pontiac. He crashed badly out there in Pomona, California, and thrashed to get this car back and came up and qualified very well in the top half of the field. Mike Trumbull, the car is owned by Dick Sherman, the guy at the back, left rear quarter panel of the race car. Both these guys up out of the sportsman ranks, and neither one has won a national championship event. Great effort just to see the Eagle 1 car make it back here after Pomona land.
Yeah, anytime you can come back after a crash like that, it's just a testament to the team that he has. And then to come in and qualify and run as good as he did. Obviously, he's looking for the first round right here.
Qualified car, and it does. 6.95 for Ron Krischer, over 198 miles an hour, 7:01. And again, 197 on the far side. Mike Trumbull gone. Little tip of the cap to Ron Krischer coming back. He's in round number 2. We got more pro stocks from the desert next. Welcome back. We've got more pro stock racing activity. And it's going to be the professor, Warren Johnson, the 5-time NHRA Winston champ, against George Marnell out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Warren has really struggled. He got some bad parts. They have not been hitting on all cylinders, Mike. Struggled at Pomona, still went to the finals, and have struggled here in qualifying. It's not that dominant Warren Johnson performance we've seen.
But that still says something about Warren Johnson. I mean, he struggled and still went to the finals at Pomona. Warren Johnson, I may not be a pro stock guy, but you got to have a lot of respect for what he does. He's so intense, and he wants to win every time he goes up the starting line, and he's going to give it 110%. So, obviously you can never count him out no matter how much of a slump he's in.
Nope. George Marnell took out Warren's kid out there at Pomona. This will be a very interesting run. Warren this is the one track on the tour that's given him a lot of problems. He's only won here once, and normally his problem is that he overpowers the track. Probably won't be the problem here today for the professor. We're 2 races into the season, and Warren hasn't gone over 200. That's like, stop the presses. Marnell out of Las Vegas, Nevada, where the NHRA Winston Tour will be in just a couple of weeks. Marnell trying to run him down. Not today, George. 6.93. Excellent effort for the professor, over 198 to speed. Good numbers for George Marnell at 6.98. But you see, Warren got out of the gate first. That's that reaction time indicator. And WJ goes into round number 2, even without as much power as he normally has. Maybe that's a nice handicap deal for him, huh?
Well, you know, it's funny. I mean, Warren always does rise to the occasion. You know, the car's doesn't quite have as much horsepower, but it seems like his reaction times have come down. So he knows he has to get a little bit sharper on his driving because he doesn't have that cushion like he had before. That's a sign of a great driver that can do that.
Got to tell you, there's not a better rivalry right now than the Coughlin family against the Johnson family in pro stock. This pairing will feature the guy that went to the finals last year and got punched out by a Johnson. This is Troy Coughlin out of the number 12 spot. Part of that juggernaut out of Ohio, their 40th anniversary. The dad's been racing for a long while, started with some old gas supercharged, actually started with a 55 Chevy. Bruce Allen, the rear and Morrison team car in the near lane. Legendary when, of course, they had the late Lee Shepard driving it. They showed me some great power the second half of last season, Mike. They're about ready to win one.
Yeah, I think so. Bruce Allen's a great talent. I mean, not only can he drive the car, but he does a lot of the research and a lot of the development on the pro stock and on the engines. And he's a great guy, and he wants to win. You know, coming off of what they did last year, having such a good end of the season, he's looking forward. You know, he's hungry for that win.
Starting gate, top end of the race course. How about that, Bruce Allen? Nice job. 6.96. Beats a 6.97, almost identical speeds at the top end. And Bruce Allen gets the win. The number 5 car advances to round number 2. More pro stocks with Firebird when we return. Welcome back, everybody. It's Tommy Martino on the far side, the Century 21 Pontiac, the only car over 200 miles an hour out in Pomona. And Mark Powell, maybe the best car on tour last year, Mike Dunn, that did not win a Pro Stock National event this Summit Pontiac.
Yeah, I know Mark. He had a lot of horsepower last year and qualified very, very well at a lot of races, but just couldn't seem to get that win. I know he's worked very hard in the offseason, try to work on some things to get that a little bit better. You know, Pro Stock is so critical. You know, we talk about reaction times, and obviously it's critical in top fuel and funny car, but when the competition is this tight, and you know most of these cars are going to go down the track side by side, you're really zeroing in on trying to get that light.
Martino got Bob Cave to help him out, Tommy Kling, and all those Jersey boys over there on the far side from my neck of the woods. And on the near lane, Mark Powers. Great onboard shots. You're going to take a look at this Summit team machine. Qualified in the number 4 spot, beaten on a slight hole shot out of Pomona. Mark's got a very good race car. Won this race a couple of years ago. Martino went to the finals, as we mentioned. We'll take a look at that lineup. This is a very fast car here.
And Martino tested very well in the offseason, so I mean, both of these cars are very, very capable.
Very careful to stay. We've seen some burn downs before in pro stock. Advantage. Powell out of the gate. He is going to win this one. Go to round number 2. Very strong. 6.96. A little bit off his qualifying pace, but most of the pro stocks will slow down today because of the heat. Tom Martino had a lot of trouble in the far lane. Only mustered up a 962 if you're scoring at home. 198 miles an hour for Mark Powick, and the Cowboy goes into the next round. But look at the lone Mopar here in this field. In pro stock, we had 2 Chevys, 11 Pontiacs, 2 Oldsmobiles, and this one Dodge. Great onboard shot here with the pro stocker. It's a busy little place. We're going to try to listen in here to Jake. Back him up. See if we can listen into the team.
Towards the wall. Towards the wall. Good.
Just telling him how to back that up. Wouldn't it like a rear view mirror work, Mike?
That's interesting. Most guys can stand out front and line you up, but they just do it by radio from the back, and that's an interesting way to do it, but it's probably pretty accurate.
Right a little. Right. Good. About 2 feet.
About 2 feet, meaning how far I had to go to the line?
That's about how far to the first stage light is. You see the tape on the top of the steering wheel. It's very important to make sure those wheels are going straight. Obviously, they pick the front end up as they leave the line. If that wasn't straight when it came down, obviously it would make the car.
That's his Dodge, the only Dodge in the field. Jackie straps one on him on the starting line. Hey, the red car in the far lane, give him a run. But in the end...
693. Good job, fellas. Felt pretty good. A little bit, maybe a little aggressive there in low gear, but after it got cleaned up, it hauled right to the finish line. Good job.
said, good job. I thought he saw me nose once. I got all excited. Jeggy will meet Warren, by the way, in the next round. How about that? For Monster, round number 2 matchup. 2 pair left here in round 1 of Pro Stock. And it's going to be the Yates family. Still yet to go here in this round. Jamie Yates against Kurt Johnson. Little bragging rights here, I think, Mike.
Well, 2 second-generation drivers, I think, yeah. But obviously, Kurt ran very, very well in qualifying. He's got the experience over Jamie. Jamie's done a great job from what I've seen of him in a short time that he's been out there. But he's going to have a tough job trying to get around that Warren Johnson horsepower with Kurt driving. But, you know, anything can happen in drag racing.
Talked about these great rivalries at the beginning of the show. We mentioned that the Yates and Johnson family would meet up, maybe not only once, but twice here during the course of the weekend. Jamie Yates qualified at Virginia last year, senior at the University of Maryland. Go Terps. Gets set to take on the Chevrolet, the bow tie at the top of the pack. Your reigning Checker Schuck's Kragen Nationals champion here, and a guy that ran it, as you heard Steve mention earlier, into the water in his first year of Pro Stock racing. Good matchup right here. Jamie Yates, he's a little nervous.
I would say he's a little bit nervous. I can remember my first races, and he definitely get the butterfly, especially coming against a guy of Kurt Johnson's caliber.
See if Jamie tries to get aggressive and steal it on the start. Oh, how about this? A lot of problem for Kurt Johnson, and look at this. Jamie Yates, and that's Mom back there. They're back on the starting line. That's my boy, 706. Wouldn't have figured that was going to be strong enough to get the win. 195 miles an hour. But Kurt Johnson, like we saw last year, had a lot of problems shaking those tires. Did it right there, and he is gone in round number 1. Your number 1 qualifier taken out by the number 16 guy. Little job for Jamie Yates. Did exactly what he had to do, right?
Yeah, he left right with Kurt, and obviously he would have liked to run a little bit better than a 706, but it was good enough to get the win based on Kurt having them problems.
Well, now we're going to find out what Dad can do. That's Vieri Gaines from Lakewood, Colorado, in the shadow of that beautiful ballpark downtown Denver. Jim Yates, 2-time NHRA Winston Pro Stock champion. In fact, he won this race in 96 and 97, went on to win the championship. He was the top qualified car at Pomona and was beaten on a hole shot in the opening round. Is he thinking about that now?
Well, you know, he had the dominant car at Pomona, like you say, and he did get beat by a hole shot in the first round. He might have been a little complacent because his car ran so good. So sometimes that can be a good thing. That can kind of sometimes be a wake-up call. I don't expect that the same thing to happen here. I think he's going to be on his game, and he's going to give it his all.
Well, he'd hate to see his kid win and him lose. Jamie will be saying, hey, Dad, when I was your age. Oh, no. Vieri Gaines, finalist at Indy a couple of years ago with the Chevrolets that made the field. Very capable driver. Tough opponent, though, in the oh, Gaines was almost perfect, and then he's got problems. And the Yates family going along, 6.95. Ricky Smith now the crew chief with Jim Yates, over 198 miles an hour. And how about that? Jim Yates, Jamie Yates, both advanced, and they're on opposite sides of the ladder. Steve?
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present for the first time at the far end, Jamie Yates. Great job.
Oh, man, I'm so excited right now. This is like a dream come true here.
You're going to have to run quicker than that 706 if you want to talk to me again.
Yeah, most definitely. The car was completely out of control that run. I was just trying to make it down. I saw that he disappeared out the side window, and I was just doing whatever I could to make it down. I just got to thank Splitfire and Pontiac. It's been great. I can't wait.
And as you can see, just behind him, there's his proud father, Jim Yates. Let's move over there and talk to Jim. I don't know if he's more excited about winning that round or his kid getting by Kurt Johnson, removing the toughest car in the field. Get out of there, Mr. Yates, proud dad. Second round combatant. What a great day for the Yates family, huh?
Well, I tell you, I'm just proud of the team. Thank God. You know, Ricky Smith, everybody's been doing a great job, and split fire cars move on to the second round. That's great. We got 2 more Pontiac Firebird split fires.
Didn't bother you a bit to see Kurt Johnson out of here?
No, not at all. I tell you, the way he's been running right now, I'm just proud of Jamie. He's done a great job of driving the car, and it's great to see your son step up and win around.
Can you tune Jamie up a bit, give him a little of your combination?
Oh, I think we can. I mean, we're just trying some different stuff on the car. Right now, we're struggling a little bit. We're focusing most of our effort on this car. You know, we want to try and get in the winner's circle.
Look at that. Is that nice? Is that cool? Father and son. Bob?
Boy, they don't sound too much like each other, do they? I was listening to Jamie. Close your eyes. You think you're listening to the old man? A great job by the Yates family. Little tidbits there. My car did one of those jobs and stuff like that. So first round of Pro Stock, really the only big upset in the Pro categories. Kurt Johnson getting bounced here in the opening round of competition. Now with that number 1 spot. So that sets up some very good pairings for round number 2 in Pro Stock. And the Yates family sitting there. That's a great picture. It's one great thing about this sport. That's probably, yeah, it might be a rivalry. Well, we're going to be back with more from Firebird Raceway here, and a great round for Pro Stock. You're going to see Jamie take on Greg Anderson, Mark Powick, the Cowboy, against Bruce Allen and that Rare and Morrison team. Flip side, it's the elder Yates. I'm not calling him old, I'm just telling it like it is, against Ron Fisher. And look at that matchup. Jake Coughlin and Warren Johnson early in the program, Steve. Jag and WJ going to get it on.
Well, here is Mr. Happy in victory or defeat. Larry Morgan, you're out first round, but the Mopar, especially yours, showed a lot of promise here this weekend.
Well, you know, it did. So did John Nobile's, which is ours also. But we're just trying to get this program going and get Dodge in the winner's circle again. That's what we're after.
Is this new much-touted Hemi motor in your car?
No, I don't have the Hemi in my car, but, you know, we're working real hard on that thing. We're just trying to qualify and look good out here.
On to Gainesville.
Scott Jeffreyon and Darrell Alderman both ran the Hemis in their cars here this weekend. So Jaggy advances again. He'll go on, and Larry Morgan's going to go on to the next race at Gainesville.
693. Good job, fellas. Felt pretty good. A little bit, maybe a little aggressive there in low gear, but after it got... Go, 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 go.
Coverage of the 2000 NHRA Winston Championship is being brought to you by Mopar. Parts for Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, and Jeep vehicles from the dealerships that sell and install them. That's the Mopar difference.
The Skull and Crossbones tell you just a little bit about the attitude of the team here for Scotty Cannon, the driver of the Oakley car. And Scotty has made it past round one. He'll be in round two. And I find it very interesting here. We expected to come over here and see you guys yanking one engine out, putting another one in, but you're going to stick with the same round one engine.
Yeah, we drilled the guys. You know, we've been, ever since Pomona we didn't qualify, we've been drilled. We made 17 or 18 runs at a little track called Speed World. And we done a bunch of testing, and we actually drilled the guys. They've been able to make it in time as long as the motor wasn't hurt bad. And we had a little bit too much power for the track down there, and it started spinning the tires real bad. So the motor was hurt, but not real bad. So we're going to fix it until we got a bullet sitting over ready to go. If we hurt it bad, we'll make a call. I'll make the call at the end of the track. If it's real bad, we change it. If I think it can be fixed, we fix it.
Jimbo Ermolovich has been helping you out here this year with this team. What has he brought to the table here for you?
Well, he's got, a lot of experience. It's a team effort. It's me and him and Phil Schuler, and Boris Boswell's been here for 13 years, and my whole crew, my son, we got the whole team. We're all from the pro mod, and he just brings a lot to it. There's no one guy crew chief in this thing. We're just all doing it together and using the input I have from years back, and what he's brought to the table can't hurt.
In the second round, you'll match up with John Force here in 2000. Scotty, what kind of goals have you set for yourself and the team?
Well, I want to win. I want to win all the time. I'd like to win the championship. You don't never know what's going to happen here, but, the rule change, I think, brought people a little bit closer together. Caps is out there running 485. I mean, he's the only one running 80s right now. John won a 90 flat, but it took him all weekend to do it. We was on a good 90 flat run last night and kicked the rod out, broke the head gasket, just actually demolished the motor. So we got a hot rod that'll run. That's what we've been doing. That's one reason we stumbled at Pomona. We was trying to run so fast, we actually kind of tripped over our own feet. But it looks like we're getting a little closer. We qualified good here. And, what can I say? There's no use trying to run 510. You got to run 480s or 90s. You ain't going to be a player here.
All right, now very quickly, tell me, the crew here, it seemed very frantic at the beginning, and you said you had tested. How quickly can they service this engine?
I'm not sure. As long as we can just get it together and run, we just got to make the next round. We wing it. We don't have any goals as far as that's concerned.
All right, Scotty, good luck to you in round two.
Thanks, bro.
Steve Evans.
We're in the Melanie Troxel pit. You have to remember that this team came out of the Federal Mogul alcohol ranks, where you seldom have to work on the car, at least not very hard. And my biggest concern was, could Jerry Darian and crew turn this thing around in 75 minutes? How you doing? The heart beating?
Yes, the heart's beating at a rapid pace.
You gonna make it?
Yeah, we got about 20 minutes left, and we're ready to warm it. And we had to change motors, so this whole deal's new to us.
I'm going to let you go. Jerry Darian, who has won several national events on his own, and here is Melanie looking on with your fingers crossed.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That was so close. 1,000th of a second is pretty incredible. We got real lucky to get by that round, and looks like we're going to get everything back together in time and see what happens this next round.
Who do you race the next round?
I believe it's Tony Schumacher.
the Winston champ.
Yeah, that's a lot to that's a lot to ask of me, I think, at this point. But car's running great, and we're thrilled to be going on, and we think we've got a pretty decent chance.
Now, you're no stranger to the winner's circle. You won 2 national events in the injected nitro car that Jerry Darian owned, so you have to be more comfortable than most rookies would be.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, having some success in the other car, finishing well last year, gives me the confidence to know that I can come out and run with these guys. And it's a little nerve-wracking, but not overly intimidating. So I feel pretty comfortable going into this next race.
And it's in the sportsman ranks you really learn to work the Christmas tree, as you did in round 1 here.
Well, I've worked really hard the past several years trying to get my lights where they need to be, and I've been struggling the past couple of weeks, been working real hard on it, and it finally paid off. And I'm thrilled to be able to be the one to kind of pull that pass out, because I know there's going to be plenty of times where the guys are going to have to save me on that. So
thanks for a great show.
Thank you.
Bob?
Steve, that could be one of the great stories of this race. Mike Dunn, as we get a chance here to watch Melanie Troxel try to earn her spurs against the Winston champ.
Well, she did a great job in that first round. She did everything she had to do. She left first. She was able to pedal the car, so basically she got the car down as quick as it would go and got the win. So I think she's up for the task.
You know, you're going to get a chance to watch her run against the Winston champion. She did very good in that opening round and everything. Jerry Darian and Ken Meadows own that race car and everything, and they're no strangers to Mount Fuel Eliminator. It is getting very hot out there on the racetrack as Bob Vandergriff Jr. in the far lane gets set to go against Joe Amato in the near lane. Mike Dunn, 2 very powerful race cars, survived the opening round. What are they looking at in this racetrack right now?
Well, obviously, with the temperatures being what they are, the track's going to be a little bit greasier, so it's going to be a little more tricky to get these cars down the track. Top Fuel may not have quite as bad a time as his funny cars, but they're still a concern for him. Right now, I think Joe Amato, he's mainly concerned with that 640 light he had first round. We see Bob Vandergriff here getting ready for his run. He wants to basically go up there and not make any mistakes, just like he did first round. Go out there and cut a decent light. Hopefully the car will run a good number and he'll get the win line.
The car that ran the quicker elapsed time in the previous round gets lane choice. Joe Amato gets to pick his side of the racetrack by just 0.02 of a second, and that could be a very big difference right here.
Yeah, generally the near lane's always been a little bit better, but you know, as it goes on, they seem to even up a little bit, but it's getting hot and it's getting a little bit greasy out there.
And the luck of the draw, this is the first pair up here in round 2. And Bob Vandergriff Jr. pull the upset and go to the semifinals. 4.70, 308 miles an hour. Joe just never had a shot, Mike. 745, only 100+ miles an hour, and he just never mounted any charge against Bob Vandergriff.
Yeah, basically, you know, it was a good race for Bob. He just left. He kind of did what he wanted to do. Joe, on the other hand, as we see this on instant replay, he got in trouble early, and this may be in part to the track. He got out there and he started rattling the tires there and got into the tire smoke. Bob Vandergriff, on the other hand, he made a nice, clean, smooth run, start to finish, 470. Well, not the greatest time of all, but that's a decent time, and obviously if somebody makes a mistake, you're going to get the win.
Vandergriff wins with a 472 in the first round, 4.70 here. Joe Amato's not even in the same frame right there. Wild ride for Joe.
Yeah, anytime you smoke the tire, it's disheartening. You know, when the car leaves like that, you know, when you react to the light, you feel them tires get loose, see the other guy go, it's obviously a big disappointment.
Let's go down to the far end of the track, and Steve Evans.
Well, Bob Vandergriff comes out here with a refrigerator white car, certainly no sponsor pressures, completely relaxed, driving like the professional that he is, and putting away the 5-time champ. Not a bad sunny day in Phoenix.
That's a good round for our team. You know, every round's important for us right now. We're just trying to stay in the hunt until we can put our sponsorship package together. And Johnny West and the guys are doing a great job. And every round for us is really big right now.
And I hear they're very close to doing that, Bob. Everything is pretty positive.
That's the big rumor going around the pit area. Vandergriff has never won one of these. He's been in the finals a whole pile of times. There's a look at Larry Dixon. Won this race in '95. Never won another round here until he got out of the opening stanza earlier today. On the far side, Doug Herbert and the Snap-on Tools machine. They had the big explosion that cost them money. It cost them points, but he did advance, and that's what they're here for, Mike.
Yeah, so obviously they're going to try and put that behind him and get a good run in here this time against Larry Dixon. You know, Doug Herbert, he's done a good job. The Snap-on car, very consistent. Like you said, he won 4 races last year, but he's got a tough opponent. Larry Dixon, I think he's ready. Got by that first round, had a good light, made a good run, and he's going to be tough.
We'll find out if that tire smoke from Joe Amato's car was the car or the track. Is the snake looking on? Teams had a dismal year last year in the interest of fair reporting, but they've both come out smoking here. Dick LaHaye there, calling the shots now. Not a bad little guy to have on your payroll.
No, Dick LaHaye, I mean, 2 championships with Scott Collette and 1 on his own as a driver. He definitely has the credentials to do this.
And he was the last guy to put back-to-back wins up at this racetrack in Top Fuel, 86 and 87. That streak's going to continue because Amato just went out. Boy, they're very cautious on their staging here.
Neither one wants to stage. There he goes in first.
Doug Herbert just could not hold on. The Miller Lite gang looking on. They win with a 4.71. Makes Vandergriff 70 look pretty good. He'll get lane choice. Larry Dixon goes into the semifinals. Bob?
Here is Dick LaHaye, another consistent run for this team, a 471. You've been right around the 470 mark all weekend.
Yeah, it's been sticking right there. He was a little deep that time, so that hurt the elapsed time, probably 200 or 300. And that's okay. We're racing, and we're trying to win rounds, and that's what we're looking for.
Congratulations. We'll see them in the semifinals.
Second race in a row in the short season. The Miller Lite car goes to the semis, Mike.
Yeah, both cars went in what Dick said was in a little bit deep. The reaction time advantage went to Doug Herbert, but it's kind of a false thing because he was in deeper. But obviously he got a little bit loose there, started spinning the tires. That hurt him because at that point they were pretty much side by side. Once the tires started spinning, Larry went by for the win.
So we've got half the semifinals, real speed. Better watch, they're coming by in a hurry. Bob Vandergriff Jr. and Larry Dixon will duke it up, and you can see the heat coming off the track. Makes it tough for the tuners, Mike.
Yeah, that's a nice shot, too. Both cars pretty straight, not moving around too much down there, and that's a good thing.
Let's get down to the far end of the track and see if there's any damage on that car, Steve.
There appears to be no damage whatsoever, and the newest resident of Indianapolis goes to the semifinals. How do you like shoveling that snow?
It's not as much fun as driving this Miller Lite race car, I tell you that. I mean, that run there, I saw him about half track, and he was way out front, and then he must have got the tire loose or burned up or something like that and drove back around him. I think this is like Rockingham or something, but it's great for our team to go to the semifinals.
Haven't seen him that happy in a couple of years.
Yep, doing well. Everybody that's employed by the Snake is having a very good start to the 2000 NHRA Winston drag racing season. Now we're going to take a look and see how they were going to run here in round number 2 in Top Fuel after an almost flawless opening stanza. Selzy, as expected, advanced. Kenny Bernstein struggled but did get by Bruce Litton. Tony Schumacher and Melanie Troxel, as you heard, coming up. That is going to be a sensational matchup between two of the bright young stars in the sport. Amato got by Jim Bailey and Doug Herbert's team car, and then Larry Dixon against the other Doug Herbert. There are no snap-on cars left now. They're all gone. We got more at Top Fuel coming up from the Checker Schuck's Kragen Nationals. That's the champ. He's got Melanie. We've got it for you coming up in just a moment. Welcome back, everybody. A little cleanup there from Doug Herbert's machine. He's going to lose some cash and some valuable points here. And Mike Dunn, that's very important when we look further down the road, losing a full round on penalties here today.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, basically, he come in here and went to the second round, but he's only going to get first round points, especially as tight as the points situation was last year. That could definitely play a part.
Interesting matchup. We've talked about rivalries all weekend here in Firebird. These two people have never met, but this could be the beginning of a great matchup between Melanie Troxel, great young face here in Top Fuel Eliminator, and the Winston champ, Tony Schumacher. That car right there, the hottest guy in the class last year.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you definitely could see a good rivalry here. You know, what I do like about this new rule, though, you get the butterflies going the first round. That's why all the drivers say they don't like that first round race. But now, with it being so short, you don't have time to be nervous for the second round. Basically, these drivers are going to be in the zone now.
Don't have time to sit and think about it. So, Melanie Troxel, you heard her tell Steve she came out of his Federal Mogul rank. So did Tony Schumacher, as a matter of fact. He raced the Federal Mogul funny car. Actually raced jet cars there for a while. His dad, Don Schumacher, drove that Stardust funny car. Your dad used to race him, didn't he?
Yeah, many years ago. That was a while back, but they had a lot of great races, too, just like Tony and I did last year. But, these two cars here, this should be a good race. Melanie actually did a great job, obviously, we talked about in the first round. She ran at 475, she had a back pedal. Hopefully she can get that car without backpedaling down the track and it can run a number, because I think they're going to need it against Dan Olsen and Tony Schumacher.
Has not been a good day for cars on the far side of the racetrack. What do they got to do to get it down without smoking the tires?
Well, I mean, obviously you got to tune for the lane. So, you know, the crew chief is going to go out there and look at that particular lane and decide what they're going to do. Just like Dan Olson would do here with Tony Schumacher. You got to race the lane. You got to take the car and make that car go down that lane as quick as you think it will go and let the numbers work themselves out. And that's what they're going to try to do.
Jerry Darian, who owns this race car, along with Ken Meadows, telling Melanie, go get him. A chance here to put a big notch in your belt, kid. The Winston champs in the near lane. Right at the quarter-mile mark, Tony Schumacher just got the win. Melanie was first out of the gate, almost stole one from the Winston champ. Look at the numbers. Schumacher 4:68 with a 5:07 reaction time. Great run, great weekend for Melanie Troxel. Let's go to the starting line, Bob.
Well, Melanie gave you a game effort there, but a 4:68 gets it done for you, Dan.
Yeah, she did a great job driving there. We were just trying to be a little conservative, not spin the tires, so we got to get ready for Gary next round probably.
All right, and the 75-minute rule going into effect as Dan Olson will get over there to switch an engine out.
I wonder if anybody wants to go tell Kenny Bernstein that Olson said we're getting ready for Selzy. This is a very busy crew over there. Let's check into the pit area and see what they do to get ready.
This year, with 15 minutes less to work with after rounds, teams do not have time to take the engine that was in the car apart and run it again. So what do? They have to have all their pieces and parts lined up and ready to go, all the way down to the accelerator cables, which have been cut and measured just in case something goes wrong. Now, as you go down the line, you'll see 3 engines. There's something you would have never seen in 1999. They are all out here and ready to go, all identical, and all should be as strong as the one that is currently in the car. That's the theory. Of course, if you're a race driver and you just ran a very quick lap, probably be wanting to go with that same engine that's in the car.
The world is full of theories. We're on board with the Budweiser King, and let's go down to the far end with Steve Evans.
Melanie came so very close. A great race.
Yeah, it looked really close down towards the end of the track. Obviously, we'd have loved to win that round, but can't be too upset losing to the world champion. So we'll be back at the next race.
Great driver, great attitude.
A great addition to this top fuel field. Well, can anybody stop Big Red right now? Gary Selzy and Alan Johnson's team, I mean, it appear to be unbeatable right now.
They definitely appear to be unbeatable right now, but you know, Kenny Bernstein, as we see this burnout shot from his car, he's definitely behind the 8 ball right now, but he's going to give it his all. Lee Beard and Kenny are not used to being in the position they are. They're going to go for broke basically on this run because I think they're going to have to.
Very interesting that Dan Olson, the crew chief for Tony Schumacher, said we got to go get ready for Selzy. Probably. He added that little codicil there at the end.
He did catch himself there and did say probably. And they got to agree with him. The odds are definitely in Gary Selzy and Alan Johnson's favor, but you can never count out Kenny Bernstein and that Bud King.
Oh, the car in the far lane. They got no excuses. Great team, great crew, great members working on the Bud King. He's won this race both in Funny Car and Top Fuel. Certainly wouldn't be a surprise if Kenny Bernstein got the win. It would now. 4.69 seconds. 4:64 for Gary Selzy. A flawless performance. Kenny Bernstein would have had to be just about letter perfect. 4:64, 3:10. First off the starting line. Not a whole lot that he didn't do right on that pass.
He did everything just like he did the other run.
So Team Winston, hey, they get Tony Schumacher in the next round. That great rivalry renews itself here at Firebird.
How about this? Gary Selzy and Tony.
Welcome back to the Valley of the Sun, where Gary Selzy has beaten Kenny Bernstein to go to round number 3. And Gary, now you're 1,000% on the season.
Yeah, isn't that a great feeling? Tell you, it's getting hot out there and it's getting slippery. And this thing was spinning the tires pretty big down there. And I don't know what happened to Kenny. I never saw him. Team Winston's going to round 3, and I love it.
Is he beatable, Bob Fry, Mike Dunn?
I don't see anybody that's going to stop him here.
Well, if he keeps running like he is, he's going to be awfully tough. I can't see him. He's cutting the lights. He's getting good lights, and the car's running good. That's all you need to win races.
We got that dream matchup. It's Selzy and Schumacher in the next round of Top Fuel Eliminator. That'll be a kick. Bob Vandergriff against Larry Dixon. Lane choice goes to Selzy. So what else is new? And Bob Vandergriff, by a couple of hunt, gets lane choice. That could be a factor when he takes on Prudhomme's driver, Larry Dixon, in the semifinals of Top Fuel. Some great racing coming up. This is a dynamite match. matchup here. Tolliver's unbeaten since the Winston Finals last year. He won that, won at Pomona. He's got your father's car with Al Hoffman driving your team that I really like here today.
Well, this is a great pairing. You got two guys that like to talk the talk, and lately I think both of them can walk the walk too, with Dale Armstrong obviously with Jerry Tolliver, my dad with Al Hoffman. This should be a good matchup here.
Al's the last one in. Dead even out of the gate. Hop in again. The WWF car pulls it off. Dale Armstrong looking a bit concerned. Figured this baby ought to run better than a 5:01. Takes out Big Al's 5:09. Great race there, Bobby Gerald.
Yes, it was. And a 5:01, Dale, not the big smile, but a little relief.
Yeah, a little relief. It's another round, and it's points we're looking for. Be interesting to see what John Force runs now, because that's probably who we'll race next round. So
we'll see Force here in just a couple of moments, guys.
Now, see, Dale's been around this long enough. He said probably.
Well, both of them have said probably. Here we see it on instant replay. Both cars basically left together. For 400 feet, they're side by side, and then that Dale Armstrong horsepower just starts to pull away in the middle at a much bigger eighth mile speed than Al Hoffman, and consequently that got the win. It carried all the way to the finish line and got the win line.
Yep, buried him at the top end of the racetrack. 12 miles an hour on the good side there. And again, not a picture-perfect run, but certainly not bad for Tolliver.
No, I mean, that's, obviously got him the win. That's what they're looking for. But I know Dale Armstrong, and I know he would have liked a little bit more than that.
A great speed shot. And across the stripe, full car length there. It will be interesting to see how the other winners handle this lane.
Here it is in car. This is a fun ride here. Just straight and narrow. The car doesn't need to move around. That's when the cars are running good. That's perfect.
Jerry Tolliver made himself into a very good driver. Let's go to Steve Evans.
And typical Dale Armstrong motor, it appears to be alive and well. And you, like Gary Scelzi on the season, are batting 1,000.
Hey, I love it. I love it. What did we run? What was the ET on that one?
5:01, 5:02, something like that.
Okay, great. Hey, listen, this is Stone Cold Steve Austin, WWF Funny Car. We're going to the semifinals. Yeah, I think people might want to wake up and know that we're for real now, huh?
Going for that championship.
Oh, absolutely. That's our goal.
Jerry Tolliver, he does walk the walk.
The other part of the tag team from the WWF. Why does that thing wobble like that, Mike?
Well, I don't know. We used to do that when we used to do the dry hops from the starting line. In other words, we'd leave, make like a little practice lead from the run, and what would happen is it would carry the front end, and when it came down, if you had a little bit of play in that front end, you'd get that wheel wobble. I don't know why it's doing it on the wet burnout, though.
Chance here for Tolliver's teammate, Jim Epler, who went to the finals at Indy last year, to pull one of the big upsets of this young season. All he's got to do is stop Ron Capps in that 485 juggernaut. Again, the onboard camera being backed up right here. Very crucial, isn't it?
Yes, it's very crucial. You want to do a couple things. Obviously, you want to back up, not necessarily in your track. Usually what happens when in the heat of the day, when you do the burnout, wants to pull the rubber off. They'll actually do the burnout off of where they want to leave, and then a lot of times move them over there to get into more clean rubber. And then the other thing is you want to make sure that car's pointed straight, so that when it does leave the starting line, if it picks the front end up, it's going to go straight down the track, and you're not going to have to drive it and get it out of the groove, and you got a better shot at winning the race.
5:01, the time for Tolliver, might be the time to beat. Obviously, all these guys want to do is beat the guy in the other lane. That Chevrolet. Don Prudhomme owns it. Let's put both his cars into the semifinals here out in Firebird. It's probably exactly what he's thinking right now. That and the fact that he's thinking, WWF 5:01.
But he's definitely got a shot. This car's been awfully tough all weekend, but like I said, that other car in the other lane is not going to be any slaps. It's not going to be maybe.
Oh, baby, 499 for Ron Capps. Battle the Chevrolets, and Capps Camaro marches into the semifinals. 596 for Jim Epler. Stayed with him a little bit, but too much of Ron Capps, the Snake, and the Ace, Bobby.
Snake and the Ace and Ronnie Capps moving on to the semifinals, and a little smile from the Snake.
Yeah, it really is. It's been great so far. The U.S. Tobacco Copenhagen team there, just doing a great job. And, the Ace is real good at it, along with Todd. Both those guys working well together. And, of course, Capps is good behind the wheel, I can tell you that. So we're real happy with it.
How much does Tolliver concern you?
How much what?
Does Jerry Tolliver concern you? He hasn't been beaten yet this year.
Well, when you pull up there, they all concern us, believe me, especially with Armstrong over there. He's a great crew chief.
The Todd he mentioned, Todd Okuhara, who does a great job on that team. We'll take a look at that again. We got more from round 2 of Fuel Finding Cars coming up from Firebird. back, everybody. Bob Fry along with Mike Dunn here as John Force gets set. He is never one to stand still. Let's find out more about that. Let's go to the pits.
Well, the rumors are true. John Force has added a third funny car to his stable. And, John, how do your competitors feel about this?
Well, a lot of them were aggravated coming in, but bottom line, all you got to do is look at this car. It has no corporate signage on it. It's a test vehicle. It's going to test on Monday or Tuesday. Tony and myself is going to be in the car. Now, we're focusing on the Castrol and Syntec Mustangs to try to win this race, strictly testing.
For John Force, this is an investment in the future of funny car racing.
He's got that classic brute force look. Now, Mike, I don't want to really hype things more than they are. We've talked about rivalries. These two guys were shouting at each other and throwing $100,000 match race challenges out last year. This is probably the biggest run for Scotty Cannon in quite some time.
Yeah, he has struggled. And he came out last year. He was doing a lot of talking, you know, at the beginning of last year. Struggled obviously a little bit, but he's starting to get this thing around. You know, with the new crew chief, Jimbo Ervalovich, and he's trying to get this thing back in line. He ran the 501 in qualifying, but you know, he's got a tough race in John Force, obviously.
Scotty Cannon said, "I want to get ready for the big dog." Well, if you want to be one of the big dogs, you got to beat this guy. Hey, he has just about owned this racetrack. There's not a whole lot in the sport that he hasn't done. 9-time Winston champion. A little Ford action here in the near lane, and got that Chevrolet over there on the far side. That was always a good rivalry in the sport of drag racing. Scotty Cannon would love to get off the schneid here in the year 2000 by punching out the champ.
He would like nothing better than to beat John Force right now. I think that he'd probably like that better than winning the whole race.
Not going to happen. And Force runs 496. The big dog marches into the semifinals. 496 for Force will get lane choice over Jerry Tolliver in a rematch of last year's finals out in Pomona. John Force just doing what he has to do. 308 miles an hour. Bobby, big win for the big dog.
It was a big win for the big dog. He's giving a little communication to John Force right now. What were you telling him?
Well, we're just telling John what we ran, what we thought, and we're getting a little feedback for Tony down there. So we're just trying to decide on our starting line strategy here.
How do you like this lane?
Well, we think it's a little sharper in the starting line, but we'll see.
Bob?
Bernie Federley, a member of the Canadian Motorsports Hall of Fame. Now they get that information from those two cars. They'll radio it back and try to help this guy's teammate. John Force is standing by with Steve.
Well, we all know John struggled a bit at Pomona, but appears to be back on track. Consistent 4-second runs. John, that was a beauty against a quiet Cannon.
What'd she run?
490s, low 490s.
Well, she got lane choice. That's critical, I think, out here in the heat against the WWF. And we want to give them a shot, give them a race here, but go racing in action in Castle. All these people, this is just trick. Arizona. I want to say happy birthday to a little girl named Allison. I know.
Happy birthday, Bob.
We got some great matchups coming up already. Force and Tolliver. Caps will take on the winner of this one. Tony Pedregon, the team driver right here. He's done some great things in his career. Let's find out more about Tony.
At the first event of the season at Pomona for NHRA, in round number 2, a matchup of teammates, John Force and Tony Pedregon, and it was Tony Pedregon who beat the boss. Well, the question here at Phoenix, of course, Tony, is should that matchup happen again, would that be allowed? Would you be allowed to beat the boss twice in a row?
Well, it always is. It always has been. It's tough to please all the critics. They're always going to have their own opinion, but believe it or not, people are actually thinking that John took a dive for me. But 497 to 498, no team out here is that good. We got to race John hard. He's tough to beat, 9-time champ. And really, if you look at my record and the amount of wins that I've had against him, they're probably better than a lot of other teams out there. So the key for us is to try to qualify myself and John up near the top, stay away from each other till the later rounds. But of course, the competition is so tough. It's tough to do that this year.
They are on opposite sides of the ladder. If they meet here, it'd be in the final. And since he mentioned those numbers, they've met 34 times. John Force has won 28 of them. Tony's gotten 6 wins. Of course, that's probably more than a lot of guys have done against Force, Mike.
No question about it. I mean, Force is tough to beat. You know, if you didn't race John in the early part of your career, you're probably good bet you don't have a lot of wins against him.
Checkers, Schuck's, Kragen entry. Best appearing cars here this weekend. The two of them, Del Worsham right here, and his teammate Frank Pedregon had a tire smoker in round number 1. Del survived, and for his troubles, he gets Tony Pedregon right here. This is a very strong race car. Worsham won up in Seattle last year, beat John Force en route. This could be the second biggest run of the last couple of years for the kid from Orange, California.
Yeah, and both of these cars smoked the tires in the first round, so it'll be interesting to see what they do here.
If 585 got lane choice, you would not have figured that to happen. Tony at the stripe and 495. Sensational run. for Tony Pedregon in the Ford car. Dale Worsham gave him a good run till about 1,000 feet. That's the good news. The bad news is the track's 1,320 feet, Bobby.
And here is John Medlin. He is the man pulling the switches here for Tony P. It'll be Ron Capps in the next round. I bet you're looking forward to that.
Yeah, boy, those guys are going to be tough. We're getting a leg up here on the hot rod. It ran some pretty good speed and a reasonable ET. We'll see if we can't find something for him.
All right, Capps versus Tony P in the semis.
Poor Ron Capps runs a 4.99. Mike doesn't get lane choice because of this run by Tony.
It's because there's not too much wrong with this run. That's good. You know, to come back from smoking the tires first round and then in the heat of the day run a 4.95 and that big mile per hour, 312 miles per hour. That's a testament to John Medlin and the rest of his crew to come back and just be able to lay those kind of numbers down.
Little tip of the cap to Dale Worsham and his gang, too. That new 2000 Pontiac Firebird, buddy. Watch this. Stayed right with Tony till just at the top end of the racetrack. So it's Capps and Tony Pedregon. Forrest and Tolliver, talk about your rivalries. The crowd, or at least the crew, goes wild. Steve?
I'm going wild. 493 gives you lane choice. How big a deal is that?
Big deal here. It's getting hot, and I don't know. I think Capps will test that left lane, but we're just happy to get by that one. I'm really not paying attention what the other guys are running. I know Capps, they can step up, take Worsham plenty seriously. I know he can drive in this kind of weather, so just nice to get back down that racetrack.
They always say they're not paying attention to the other guys, and they can quote their lap time and speeds from every round.
Classic quarter-mile rivalry. 2 Fords versus 2 Chevys in the semifinals here at Firebird in Fuel Funny Car competition. Lane choice to Tony P with that 495. Capps goes 99, and he could probably put on the far side of the racetrack. On the flip side, it's the man, the big dog, John Forrest, against the unbeaten, untied, and unscored upon Jerry Tolliver. Primetime runners coming up next from Firebird Raceway. Pits. Here's the way they qualified. Kurt Johnson with that Chevrolet at the top of the pack. Warren Johnson, look at that. He continues to struggle. Ron Krischer makes it back after that crash out in Pomona, California. Second half, Greg Anderson went to the finals at Indy. Kaufman, Martino Morgan involved into the finals here, but none have won it yet. Pro stock in the opening round was pretty much what we expected, with the exception of, well, the #1 guy. Got taken out. Kurt Johnson had all kinds of problems. And Jamie Yates, Jim Sung wins his first round in national event competition. Greg Anderson over the kid Richie Stevens on a hole shot. Mark Powell and Bruce Allen desperately looking for a win. They haven't been in the winner's circle in quite some time. Maybe here. Jim Yates, who's won here a couple of times. Ron Krischer, as we mentioned, back from that horrendous crash in Pomona. Coughlin and Warren Johnson. Oh, boy. Round #2, a rivalry. And we don't have to wait real long to watch those two guys get it on. It'll be Jamie Yates and Greg Anderson coming up right here. Jamie Yates, his first elimination win earlier. Is he a little nervous here in round 2 as you go further into the program, Mike?
Well, I don't know. I think after that first win, there's probably a little bit of pressure off you. That first win's always great, and he's probably going to, obviously he's looking forward to another win, but, you know, he's going to have to step up from his first round time of only a 7:06, but with Jimmy Yates as your father, you know, he's probably more capable of doing that.
Greg Anderson, who worked for Warren Johnson for so long and has now turned himself into a very, very good driver. Look at this, a lot of tires shaking the near lane, and how about that Jamie Yates going into the semi-finals? They're going, we won with a 750? I'm not believing it. 162 miles an hour. Not exactly a time car to flash around the University of Maryland when he goes back to classes, but he is in the semi-finals. A lot of problems on the near lane for Greg Anderson. 1397, that's the first car we've seen really have trouble on the near side of the racetrack in pro stock.
Yeah, that's unusual. You know, 2 rounds to get a break like that, but a win's a win. You'll take it. He's in the semifinals, and rides the occasion. He'll have the car to win next round.
He's going 7:06 and 7:50, and he's gone to the semifinals. Here comes Bruce Allen, the Pontiac from the Rare and Morrison Racing Stable, and the Cowboy Mark Powell, who went to the finals at Maple Grove last year. Very good race car, but has not been able to find the winner's circle since back about 1995. What's Mark thinking now? He just saw Greg Anderson, a very good car and driver, running with Mark Powell power, shake the tires in that near lane.
Well, I'm sure Mark's got to be concerned, you know, that that the near lane obviously gave, you know, Greg Anderson some problems, and like you said, he's got the same kind of horsepower in there. Don't know if the cars are set up the same, but, you know, Mark Powell, he's a good driver. He's going to put that out of his mind. He's going to go up there and just do his job, which is to cut a light and try to get, you know, get the whole shot and get the car down the track.
The way the ladder breaks, the #4 and 5 qualifiers meeting here in round at #2. Gorgeous weather. I mean, just spectacular here in Firebird Raceway. Great crowd on hand here, and we're going to find out who advances into the semifinals. Winner of this, by the way, meets Jamie Yates. If you want lane choice, you got to run better than a 750. Sounds like a piece of cake. Mark is always very deliberate in the staging, Mike. the Summit car in the near lane. Great drag race, top end the Cowboy. Into that 690 range, over 170 miles an hour. Mark Powick will go into the semi-finals. 698, 197. You can see the reaction time. He got out of the gate first, and Powick handled that lane like a real champ.
That's exactly what he wanted to do. You know, get off the line first, get a good reaction time, which he did. Get the car down the track. I'm sure he hit all his shift points, and a 698, that's a great run for these conditions.
One Yates has already advanced into the final round, and we're going to see if the other Yates can do it right now. This is Jim, two-time Winston champ. They're scrambling inside there to take a look at that split-fire Pontiac. Boy, 96 and 97, when he won the Winston titles, I mean, it looked like everybody else was running for second place.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'd like to do that again, but he's going to have a tough go at it with Ron Kirshner here. Obviously coming off that wreck at the first race, just to be in the second round, I'm sure he's obviously happy, but the car's been run real well. He's definitely got a shot at it, but it's not going to be easy.
Kirshner in the Eagle 1 car here in the near lane. Scrambled just to get a car a couple of days before this race. Tested down the road in Tucson. And Kirshner out of the gate first. Ron Kirshner might have stolen one here, and yes, he did. 699 against the 704. How about that? Ron Kirshner, who's got Mike Edwards, and you saw the big guy, Mike Elliott, back there helping with him, goes to the semifinals. What a great story after demolishing the car out there in Pomona a couple of weeks ago. Ron Kirshner, with that 480 reaction time, takes the two-time Winston champ and sends him packing.
What a great comeback. He left first, got down the track, and actually outran Jim Yates. I don't know if he had some problems. It looked like he may have shook in the transition between second and third gear, maybe even first and second, which slowed him down quite a bit.
We've talked about rivalries this entire weekend. Jay Coughlin punched out Warren Johnson out in Pomona. Backing up, maybe we'll hear the team talking to him again as they line up. They were dead even off the line.
Towards the tree hard. Good. I'm back. Good.
Boy, that's neat listening to him. They were dead even off the line in the finals of Pomona. I thought that was the death knell for this guy. If you're even with Warren off the starting line, you're usually going to be trailered.
Pretty much all year last year that was the case, but obviously Warren's not having quite the year he had last year, at least at this point.
Two of our three drivers in the semifinals have never won before in pro stock. Heck, Jamie Yates had never won a round. Probably won one last year. What a great story that could be. The winner here gets Ron Kirshner in the semis. Jay Coughlin and the Oldsmobile bodied machine on board right there, looking out, trying to look over that scoop and make sure he can stage the car. Against the Professor, five-time Winston champion. It was a great run for Jeggy. This was the same way they lined up out there in Pomona. Jeggy was on the far side, Warren the near lane. They came out together, and Jeggy just held on and got the win. Saw that earlier, and watch right here. See if WJ can get a little bit of revenge. Again, dead even off the starting line. Again, Jay.
To a 697. Bad, buddy, you're bad. Good job. Good job, fellas. Still felt like it was going to pull the wheels up there in the second gear change, but man, it was...
That's right. You're bad. You're bad. Boy, he punched out WJ 2 straight at the start of the season. Mike, that'll send a message.
That'll definitely send a message. You know, both, like you said, both cars left together. Both cars run side by side, but that Dick Maskin horsepower was a little bit more for Warren Johnson at this time and got the win.
Second race in a row, Jeggy gets the win. Could be the changing of the guard in pro stock here in the year 2000.
Here we are on board, and like they said, the crew is telling Jeggy to push the tree. That means he wanted to get off the line. Both cars left good as they go through the gears. Here he is down to the finish line. And
you won 695 to a 697.
How about that big-time win for Jay Coughlin? Steve?
Well, Ron Kirshner, for all you've been through, the semifinals is for you.
It's definitely for me. It's been a long weekend, a long week. We just got this car Monday morning to Tucson. We put a couple passes on it, made it go straight, and we're still learning what the thing wants, but it looks like going to be a fast race car. My guy's got a lot of power back in the shop.
It's a fine day for a guy who 3 weeks ago was sliding on his roof down Pomona Raceway.
And a guy who has never been past the second round in all of his years of competition in NHRA Pro Stock. So the semis, it's Yates and Powick, but that's Jamie Yates. Who'd have thunk it? Lane choice goes to the Cowboy in that Summit Pontiac, and that'll be an interesting matchup. Can Jamie make it to his first ever final round. And Ron Krischer against Jay Coughlin. A couple of Buckeyes, both guys coming in from Ohio. We'll return to Firebird Raceway in Phoenix in just a moment. Coverage of the 2000 NHRA Winston Championship is being brought to you by the world's leader in brake pads, Wagner Brakes. By new Speed Stick Ultimate, antibacterial odor protection. Kills odor, protects guys. And by Yamaha, makers of fine ATVs. Was out here, there's rule. Out here this weekend, Gary Scelzi rules. Mike Dunn, you're sitting up here with me watching this race. You got to be enjoying this as a fan.
Oh, this is great racing. You know, the new rules changes has made everything closer. It's tightened up the whole field, got the rounds going quicker. It's just exciting for everybody.
Gary Scelzi's into the second round, just like he started out his first championship year in 1997. First couple of races, he just bulldozed the field.
Yeah, and that's something he didn't do last year. They struggled big time coming out of the blocks last year, the first 5 or 6 races. And Alan Johnson, he's not going to make that same mistake again. He wants to come out and just hit the ground running, and basically they're doing that right now.
Gary Scelzi's hot. He's won 15 races and way up in the top fuel list. Let's take a look at the schedule of upcoming events on the NHRA Winston Drag Racing Tour. Mike Dunn's the defending champ down there at the Gator Nationals in Gainesville, Florida. Then we'll head out to the first race out in Las Vegas, Nevada. Hope you guys all catch one. Let's go in now to Big Red's pit. Standing by, here's Steve.
You're looking at the top fuel final 3 weeks ago. Pomona Raceway, the Winter Nationals. Gary Scelzi versus Tony Schumacher. And at the stripe, it was Gary Scelzi winning the first race of the year. But this year, Gary, here in Phoenix, you're going to get Tony around earlier than the final, and that's good.
That's real good. You know, I'd rather put my own destiny in my own hands. And right now, the way Team Winston Top Fuel Dragster's running, I think we're ready for him.
He seems to think you having lane choice is a big club.
I hope he thinks so. I don't think so, but if he thinks that we're better off that way.
This rivalry between you two just gets hotter and hotter and hotter.
Well, I don't love him, and I'm sure he doesn't love me, so we're going to go get after it right now.
Have a safe ride.
Thank you.
Bobby Gerald.
In the semifinals, John Force will match up with a man who has not yet lost in the year 2000. That's Jerry Tolliver. But does that mean anything to you, John?
No, we got 2 hot rods to get him one way or the other. But I'm excited. He's doing really well, and our old Mustangs are trucking out there. That's what Castro and Syntec pay us to do. And right now I'm just trying to help Tony. 75-minute deal is kind of tough. And Tony works on his hot rod. It's kind of neat. And I'm getting to get over and get dirty packing parachutes. I just forgot how to do it.
We saw your crew really dancing around in this shuffle with the extra time. You've got Tolliver in the next round, which we just talked about with the first question. But in that next round, how much of an onus now is put on your crew to get it ready?
Well, you got to make the call at 75 minutes, but not only get the car together, but have it prepared. You don't want to go up there and have an oil leak or a clutch malfunction put you out of the race. But bottom line, Tolliver Hot Rod, he's looked real well in the last couple of races, but it's early yet, and he's up against the pretty good set of hot rods right here. We'll just see.
They call him the big dog. That's John Force. Steve?
The intense rivalry between the X-Side car and the Team Winston car includes the crew chiefs. Dan Olson wants to beat Alan Johnson as badly as Tony Schumacher wants to beat Gary Scelzi. And this is not manufactured. This is real. You just both want the same prize.
Absolutely. Scelzi had it for 2 years, and we took it from him last year. There's no question about it that they're going to go back and try to get that #1. More than that, Dan Olson, Scelzi, and Alan Johnson are all from the same area in California. They grew up doing this together, so believe me, it's going to be a battle.
You've lost lane choice. That's disturbing.
Absolutely. We want the right lane, but we can get down the left lane. Dan has a way of getting around these bumps and soft spots in racetracks. We're going to go out there. We're going to give it our best shot. We're going to meet a lot of times this year. We want to take him out early.
Bobby?
Now we're in the Jerry Tolliver pit, getting ready for semifinal action. Your crew working frantically right now, Jerry, to get you prepared for the matchup with John Force, and you won't have lane choice. How critical is that?
How critical is that, lane choice? Well, you know, I don't think the lanes are that unevenly matched today. We ran a 490, I think, yesterday in that lane, so we're not worried about it. We're going to go down and do our own job, and we'll get the job done, I think.
How much has Dale Armstrong meant to this team?
Oh, Dale Armstrong's the world. I mean, Dale Armstrong is the heart and soul of this team, so he's the main guy. We love him.
What did you guys switch engines here, or did you try to service the one that you just used?
We just serviced that motor. Yeah.
At the 75 minutes, not a problem for you.
Oh, it's tough. These boys are humping, as you can see, so it's not easy. My guys are working hard.
Good luck, Jerry.
Thanks very much.
Bob.
Mike, why is it always the guy that doesn't have lane choice says it's not going to be a factor?
Well, you don't want to show your hand right at that point, but you know, the lanes aren't that far off. You know, we've been talking about it. Sometimes it's as much psychological as anything. I think the lanes here are fairly even, but obviously if you had your choice, you would take the near lane.
Even though most of the wins have come from the near lane, we should point out that those have been most of the higher qualified cars. So it's maybe not as much the lane as the better cars have been getting the win. Well, we got the heavyweights ready to slug it out in the semifinals here at the Checker Schuck's Kragen Nationals in Firebird. Gary Scelzi warming up. He wants to take on that kid of speed, Tony Schumacher.
Now, you Pro Stock fans at home might be thinking, if I was Jim Yates and I've been beaten, I'd take my strong motor out of the car and put it in my son Jamie's car. Well, you can't do that under NHRA rules. You can't swap motors back and forth once eliminations begin in Pro Stock. So what they're doing, they've gone into the trailer, found the motor that Jim ran at Pomona so strongly, and they're sticking that in Jamie's car. So as Jamie goes to the semifinals for the first time ever, he's going to have a much more powerful power plant.
Mike Dunn, you normally expect to see guys swapping motors in the fuel categories. Does it surprise you to see that in Pro Stock?
Well, that is kind of surprising. I wasn't even aware of that rule. You know, in top fuel, we can go out and pretty much put any motor that'll fit between the frame rails in the car. But this has probably got to help Jamie Yates, give him a little more confidence having that motor in for this semifinal match.
Nice to be part of a team operation. Here's Bob Vandergriff Jr. as we get set for this semifinal matchup with Larry Dixon. Dick LaHaye, a master. Unless you pointed out that he was a former Winston champion as a driver, too, Mike. A lot of people seem to forget that. He did a lot of that, ironically, while sponsored by Miller, the same people that are sponsoring Perdome's car right now. Vandergriff goes all these years, never wins a race with sponsors, coming out on his own nickel and a chance to go to the finals here.
Yeah, he's got a real good chance. The car's been real consistent, 470, 472, and he's got lane choice this run. Larry Dixon, on the other hand, he's been consistent, didn't get lane choice by virtue of his 471, but he's ran a lot of 460s in qualifying, so it's going to be, you know, this is pretty much a toss-up. This should be a real good race.
Bob Vandergriff Jr. cannot make a mistake because the team in the far lane absolutely loaded.
No question. You know, Dick LaHaye's just a master at getting a car down the racetrack in tricky conditions, and I'm sure he's going to do the same thing here.
Obviously, the hottest conditions we've seen. Bob Vandergriff Jr. has been to the finals at Indy, been to the finals on 6 different occasions, still winless. Johnny West, Arizona native, who has just done a masterful job tuning his race car over the last couple of seasons. And Larry Dixon, after a miserable season last year, coming out here, and Perdome's got to be saying, boy, my boy's got a chance to double up here this weekend. That'll be a kick. Dick LaHaye looked nervous, didn't he?
I don't know. I don't think Dick LaHaye ever gets nervous. He's always ready to race, and he's always got his game face on.
Unbelievable. And believe me, even though Perdome owns that car, it's LaHaye's car on the weekends here. Not everybody's in a real big hurry here to stage it. What's the rules? Anybody got to go in first?
Nobody has to go in first, but usually there's a gentleman's agreement that you're going to go in a certain amount of time after the first car stages, and usually that's within 5 seconds.
Vandergriff probably figures he's got nothing to lose. Let's see what he does on the starting line, see if he can try to take out Larry Dixon. You can see the top bulbs on there pre-stage. Vandergriff's in. Dixon's in. Advantage, Vandergriff. How about this? How about that Bob Vandergriff Jr. Gone to the finals. 4.84, 297 miles an hour, 506. Larry Dixon, again, certainly not all inspiring in the performance, Mike, but Bob Vandergriff has done what he's needed to do. He's turned the win light on 3 times in a row, Bobby.
Well, we had Johnny West here, but he has just driven away. He's in such a hurry to get down there to greet Bob Vandergriff after that winning 484 run, Bob.
Well, he didn't want to have that 75-minute start while you're talking to him. Watch this again. Vandergriff, who didn't qualify at Pomona, goes to the finals here, Mike.
Yeah, Bob got a great start. Got the reaction time advantage off the starting line. There you see Dixon's car having a little bit of problem. I think he's spinning the tires and definitely started putting some cylinders out. That allowed Bob Vandergriff to win with that 484, albeit not a great run, and still got the win.
If I told you Vandergriff's running at 84, you'd figure he's going home, huh?
Yeah, normally you would think, especially in the semifinal round like that, match up against a car like Larry Dixon, that Miller Lite car.
Here comes Vandergriff. There goes Larry Dixon. If you notice, Bob was coming by a lot faster. Let's go down to the far end of the racetrack with Steve Evans.
Bob Vandergriff has made so many deposits into the racing luck bank. It's about time he made a withdrawal. How about this final round for the 7th time? Maybe 7 is the lucky number.
Well, I sure hope so. Maybe 7 is my lucky number. That's just a great accomplishment for our team. We're a little short-handed. We're a little short on budget right now. Without the Haldex group, we wouldn't be here, and hopefully we can get a win, and it sure help us.
Oh, I'll bet.
Well, to coin a phrase, doesn't get a whole lot better than this. They went at it in the finals. You saw that in the beginning. We've chronicled the two-time Winston champ, Gary Scelzi, the reigning champ, the kid of speed, the X-Side car over there on the far lane. Mike, this is what the people came to see.
Yeah, this is a great matchup. Obviously, coming off the final round of Pomona, these two met up, and Gary got the win. He's got the dominant car, but, you know, Tony Schumacher and Dan Olsen, they're defending Winston champions. They're not going to go down lightly, and they're going to give them a race. It's going to be interesting to see. I know basically that there was a lot of deep staging going around the last round, but, you know, Scelzi leads Schumacher in the race series 4-2, so that's an interesting stat.
Could be very interesting here. Schumacher killed him off the starting line at Pomona, even though he's almost a tenth slower on the racetrack. Almost won that race with a 4:26 reaction time. If he does that here, Gary could be in trouble.
That's a stellar light, you know, 420 light. Anything below a 480 is a very good light, but, you know, Gary's been real consistent. He's run 480 lights the first couple of rounds of 490 and 480. Tony, on the other hand, he's been a little bit off, you know, 517 and a 5.0, but I guarantee he'll step it up this run, and it'll be interesting to see who gets off the line first.
Great drag race semifinals as we get set to see if Tony Schumacher can take out Gary Scelzi, or can Scelzi go to the finals for the second straight race. Dan Olsen holds his man and says, okay, let's go get him. Alan Johnson does the same with Team Winston and the Matco Tools entry. A great matchup. Now you're going to watch the reaction timer. Remember, Schumacher, brilliant out in Pomona. See what he does right here. Almost even out of the gate. Top end of the quarter mile. How about that Tony Schumacher? 4.68 seconds, 312 miles an hour, 473. Scelzi came back to the pack right there, and Tony Schumacher, 1-1 now on the season, and Big Red's going home. How about Schumacher goes into the championship run against Bob Vandergriff? Let's get down to Bobby Gerald.
Well, Dan Olsen, maybe the upset of the meet right there.
Well, they did us a favor there, no doubt about it. Yeah, because we knew those guys are going to run a low 60, and this lane over here is not the best. So we're very, very happy, yes.
What do you think about Bob Vandergriff?
They got to contend with them. Everybody here, you got to race.
It's going to be a good final.
Ironically, Schumacher loses at Pomona with a great reaction time and was actually sluggish here, Mike.
Yeah, Gary got the jump on him off the start, albeit just by about 100th of a second. Normally, you would figure, well, that's the win, is the way this big red car has been running, but obviously something went wrong with the Winston car, and Tony Schumacher was able to get the win.
Watch this. Schumacher's big speed, like he's done so many times. 14 times last year he was top speed. He is 7 miles an hour quicker than Scelzi right here, and he's going on, Steve.
Lane choice be damned. You're going into the final where you will have lane choice.
That's fantastic. We'll probably go back to the right lane, but we didn't have trouble in that lane. I actually would have run a little quicker. I put it in a little deeper on Scelzi. They're tough competitors. You need every edge you can get. Once again, another final for X-Side, Madco, Pennzoil, Gates Belts, and all the great people at home back in Chicago. We love you. This is going to be fun.
Remember Don Perdomo always said, never bet on a drag race.
Want to mention to the people in Chicago, it's like 85 here today. We probably shouldn't point that out. Getting set to go to the finals. Lane choice to Tony Schumacher. Bob Vandergriff, the Cinderella story, trying to win his first ever. We got funny cars and pro stockers coming up next from Arizona. Welcome back, everybody. We have got semifinals in fuel funny car category. Bob Fry and Mike Dunn here. Bobby Gerald down along the starting line. Steve Evans at the end of the track. This is a heavyweight fight here in the semis in the funny car, Mike.
We've got two 480 cars here. You know, Tony Petrogran ran the 483 in Pomona, which is the quickest run under the new 90% rule. Ron Capps ran a 485 in qualifying here. So these are two stout cars. This is going to be a good matchup.
Capps runs a 499 in the second round here. Gives up lane choice. That's got to be demoralizing.
Yeah, especially at this track, you know, sometimes I think it's a little as much psychological as anything, but, you know, obviously the teams that have lane choice are picking the near lane, but I don't think there's a whole big advantage.
As an owner, a great opportunity here for that man, the legend, Don Perdomo, to maybe see his guys double up. It hasn't been done a whole lot by car owners in the history of drag racing. Little problem, they've shut off Tony Pedregon's car. Pedregon's car is shut off. They're not allowed by rules to refire, and it's going to be Ron Capps and the U.S. Tobacco Chevrolet. Hey, if you want to run in the finals here, you need a tie to get in, or at least a bow tie. Capps, let's see what he does on the free ride. Mike, going to run it all the way out?
Oh, he's going to go for it. If it doesn't spin the tires, he's going all the way.
Oh, man. The Pedregon guys are going to be beside themselves. Ron Capps was going to try to go for it, and he gets a gift as he limps across into the finals at 10:02, 77 miles an hour. They say if you're going to win one of these, you may need one lucky round. Boy, that was a gift there for Ron Capps.
You know, that definitely was. But, I've won a few races in my career, and I can remember a lot of times I always got that one lucky break that you need to get the win.
Let's go down to Bobby Gerald and see what the deal is.
Snake in drag racing, you take them any way you can get them. You were lucky there.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We just got a good break then, I mean, they had an oil leak there, and of course Cap's putting out something on the ground right here, and I'm sure it's oil, and that's a quick $1,000 bill it's going to cost us, but at least we're past that round. That's a tough round, and to get it in the finals, man, you got to have a little luck on your side.
Well, I think this is one case where you can smile at that $1,000 penalty because you're going to the finals, Steve.
Well, Ron Capps, you have just about dominated this deal, but that was a break that maybe every racer needs to win a big one, like Bob Troy just said. What happened? Why did it smoke the tire?
Well, I don't know, but I think I could have caught it and pedaled it. There's no use going out and taking some $500 out of Snake's pocket. It might have hurt itself if I pedaled a bit. Ace put her up there. We're going to try and put a number out there. I sound like Forrest when I'm talking. But we just try to go out and step it up. We're going to try and run a low 90, and thank God he shut off. Who knows what would happen to those guys. But, hey, we'll take it. That's our lucky break. You got to have one of those lucky breaks every race.
So back to the starting line. Bobby Gerald, what you got?
Disappointed Tony Pedregon, and what happened, man?
I'll rule that down. The 75-minute call, it's real tough to make. It's the same. That's no excuse for us. We just got in a pinch where we blew a motor the round before. We're leaning on it pretty hard and going out to do the burnout. The oil pressure was fine, but the engine was leaking, and I was really pushing just to try to get the car staged. And the starting line crew, they're the safety first with these drivers. So we're just going to take it back and work with the team to make sure that doesn't happen again. And it's really tough when the car's running so good, but we got John still in. I'm definitely pulling for him to beat Tolliver, and just on to the next one.
Bob?
Gee, there's a surprise. He's pulling for John. Well, if you're keeping score, it's Chevy 1, Ford nothing here in the semifinals. We got Force and Tolliver, primetime players, coming up next with the Desert in Arizona. Jerry Tolliver, the WWF car against John Force and Mike Dunn for one of the few times in recent years, I got to tell you, John Force, not a prohibitive favorite in this race.
Well, I'll tell you, Jerry Tolliver and that whole WWF car has been outstanding this year and towards the end of last year. When they come into this race, both guys basically, you want to just concentrate on doing your job, cutting the light, getting the car down the track as quick as they can. But they both want to, as we watch Tony watch the boss there, they both want to send a message here, even though it's early in the season.
Now let's find out who's going to stage first. Force, who basically owns this place, as we said earlier. 5 out of the last 6 years he's won at the Stone Cold car, is riding a 10-round win streak. Force leading this very short series, 2-1. Oh, man! Tolliver just could not hold him off. John Force runs a 5:10 and gets into the finals at 293. Numbers I would not have figured could take out the WWF. Let's go down to the starting line and Bob Gerald.
And here is Bernie Federley, and it wasn't a final run, Bernie. It wasn't a final round matchup, but that had to be pretty sweet because they hadn't lost this year.
Well, yeah, it sure was. Under the circumstances, we had a lot of trouble here and feel real bad about what happened, but we messed ourselves up, and, we got away with it. But, hey, we'll take it. Put a cylinder out, and we'll run a little quicker in the final, hopefully. Thanks.
Bob?
Tolliver was holding a couple of hundreds in the bank past the Christmas tree, Mike.
Yeah, you can see he leaves on John just by a little bit. And basically, I think he's got this run in the bag until he gets in the middle of the course and the Goodyear tires start breaking loose. And there goes John. Even with the cylinder out, he still had enough power to get by a smoking Jerry Tolliver.
5:10 beats a 5:22. Ford beats the Chevrolet. Oh, yes, if you're keeping score. Chevy 1, Ford 1. And we go into the finals with Capps against Force. On board right here. Let's go down. We'll ride on board. Let's check in with Steve Evans.
Well, I think John Force is taking great pleasure in ending Jerry Tolliver's win streak at 10 rounds with a 5:10. It had a hole out.
Well, nothing with Jerry. With Jerry, he's a great guy, great racer. They're doing great. My boy Tony getting knocked out in that Castro Syntec Mustang, that was painful because we struggle in the pits trying to get her fixed. She come back out there and she leaked, and it gives Capps the gravy. Then you see him smoke the tires. But see, I need to get up, and that gets you mad. That gets you up.
He is up.
feel like I need a Berlitz course to translate that thing. Lane choice goes to John Force. Little Ford Chevrolet battle. Great rivalry. The Force camp, the Prudhomme camp. Championship run coming up here to all the marbles in funny car. That is going to be a dynamite matchup. Jamie Yates right here, further than he's ever gone before, against Mark Powell, who hasn't won since '95, but has had a great race car for the last year and a half.
Yeah, Mark Powell's got to be feeling pretty good. Obviously, Jamie didn't have the kind of numbers he was looking for the first 2 rounds, but I'm sure Mark knows that they've changed engines, so he's not going to be taking Jamie lightly. This will be a good race to watch.
Jamie Yates hasn't been in the 6s all day long, and he's here in the semifinals. That won but 1 round before. Summit Racing Pontiac, the Cowboy, Mark Powell, a former speed record holder in the NHRA Pro Stock battles. Just a great guy and one of the great families here in NHRA drag racing. Key here, Mikey, the starting line?
Well, definitely for Jamie, I think, because Mark Powell, like you said, has been running awfully strong. But you don't know what that new engine's going to do that Jamie's got in there, so it'll be interesting to watch.
It'll be interesting to know what's going through Jamie Yates' mind right now. Chance to go to the finals. Powell hammered him out of the starting gate. Good run at the top end of the racetrack. Mark Powell says, take that, kid. 7:05 beats a 7:11. Nice run this weekend for Jamie Yates, the Cowboy. Powell, first time since Maple Grove last year into the money run, $1.96 and change. The top end, not all inspiring numbers, Mike, but Mark Powell's going to the finals with a chance to win for the first time in a long while.
That's a good one.
Ron Krischer getting set to come up. We have told you earlier in the show about the devastating accident that he had out in Pomona, California just a couple of weekends ago. Just the fact that he is back here is in itself tribute to the type of people that are involved in NHRA Winston drag racing. Now watch this. Gets out of the groove almost immediately. So does Kurt Johnson, and never could bring it back.
That's a wild wreck. You know, once those cars get going, they're hard to bring back. Those cars are very hard to drive with that short wheelbase. They don't transfer the weight to the rear tires like they usually do. But now, you know, he's in the semifinals and he's ready to try to go to the final round.
Went back, had a scammer car from Barry Grant, who was going to have this car, but they went to the chassis builder and said, come on, let me do this. Went down to Tucson and tested, and here he is in the semifinals against the Jay Coughlin.
Good. About 3 feet.
I feel like a peeping Tom when I'm doing that, you know. Both these guys out of Ohio. Ron Krischer never been past the second round in his life. Now a chance to go to the finals. But this is as tough a draw as you're going to get here in the near line.
Yeah, Jay Coughlin, obviously the points leader. It's going to be a tough race.
Now Ron Krischer is probably, WJ is probably his biggest supporter right now. He's going, go Ron. Advantage Krischer. Let's see if he's got enough power. What a great story this would be. No, 696.
696. Boy, that felt great down through there, fellas. They made it right down through the center there. Excellent job, excellent job. Going into second.
And how about this for the final? The Summit car, the Jegs car, more Buckeyes going at it. I thought Krischer might have stolen it, Mike.
Well, he definitely had to jump off the line, did a great job. The pressure didn't seem to bother him at all racing Jag, but that Dick Maskin's horsepower once again drove around him on the other end.
Boy, awfully strong for that Coughlin team. Jaggy wins it by just about a car length, but a tip of the cap to Ron Krischer.
Here we are in car with Jag Coughlin here, and he's going through the gears and down the track. Yeah, that looks like a fun ride. I've never driven one of those.
You won, buddy.
It does look pretty fun.
696.
Great job, and Jaggy Coughlin just laying him out here at the start of the season, Steve.
The Columbus Comet and the Cleveland Cowboy in the Pro Stock Final. 696, you got lane choice.
Yeah, we just made a great run down the right lane there. The safety safari in the NHRA did a heck of a job cleaning it up, and our guys back in the Jegs camp just put this thing right down the middle, and I think we're feeling pretty comfortable going in the final.
You made just an okay run.
Terrible run, but I'm here. That's all that matters, and I owe the Jegs a bunch. Summit Racing, Pontiac, Matco Tools, we're going to give it our best.
Okay, it'll be a lot of fun.
Told you, Mark Powell hadn't been to a final since Maple Grove last year. You know who beat him? Jaggy. It was a great weekend there for both of those guys. So Mark Powell with a chance to pick up his first win since 1995. The Summit car and the Jegs car. The Buckeyes going to slug it out here in the desert. We got more coming up from the Checkers, Schucks, Kragen Nationals, and John.
One heck of a final round matchup in funny car. It's going to be Ron Capps versus John Force, and you have to go back to 1998 for the last time that happened, and you came out on top. A memorable win, I'm sure, anytime you beat Force.
Yeah, anytime you can even race with that guy, whether it's qualifying And it was 98, you're right, and that we had a great year, won 5 races, but we had a terrible year last year. A lot of work over the winter with Chevrolet, doing new Camaro wind tunnel work, and U.S. Tobacco, new paint job, and it's just a lot of hard work over the winter.
In the semis, a little bit of luck on your side.
Boy, a lot of luck. And what's funny is they shut him off, but we actually had kind of the same leak on a lesser scale. And as the car left the starting line, it was leaking a little bit out of the rear main seal as well, just like Tony's car. So that's that one break you need every eliminations.
You lose points there, Ron?
You know, I forgot. They changed the rule. I know for sure it's money, and Snake's wallet got a little bit lighter, but I'm not sure about the points.
10-point loss, we understand, so along with the fine.
Oh, well. Hey, I think we're going to move up top 5 no matter what happens, and that's exciting for us.
All right. We'll see Ron Capps in the final. Steve?
Remember Bob Vandergrift Jr. said that they were operating kind of short funds and short-handed. Well, a lot of volunteers, including guys from the Epler WWF crew are over here. The great thing about directors, you need help, you'll get it. And the crew chief this year, he was assistant last year, is my man Johnny West. Before anybody ran 2 cars in the 70s, Johnny West had 2, a dragster and a funny car, and he called them Plan A and Plan B. It wasn't quite a hard of work then, Johnny.
Basically the same kind of philosophy that I was using back then, just trying to run it soft and be conservative and not outsmart myself.
Gonna have to step it up this round, though, Bob Joe.
Fever pitch work down here as they get ready to pull the motor for John Force in anticipation of his final round matchup with Ron Capps. And we get a chance to speak to Austin Coyle, who, with these 75-minute rules, you got to get down the track. We haven't had a whole lot of chance to talk to you this weekend, Austin.
Well, you know, that's true. It's pretty feverish trying to keep up this pace, and you know the sun's taking its toll on the racetrack, and it's taking a toll on our car parts too. So we better get back to work and get her up there. We got about 51 minutes left.
You're pulling this motor out right now, and you'll have a fresh bullet ready to go in place. How long will all that take you?
Well, with any kind of luck, we should start the motor right at about 50 minutes from the time we left the starting line on the last run. That gives us 20 minutes to make final adjustments and get back to the starting line.
And we will get out of their way and let them get to work. Steve?
For Tony Schumacher and his entire team, for that matter, beating Gary Scelzi and Alan Johnson in the semis was very much like winning the race. Very easy to suffer a little letdown here. You were so hopped up.
Yeah, I had to get hopped up. I mean, those are tough competitors. We're going to be doing this all year long. I'll tell you what, first round wasn't easy, second round wasn't easy, but when you go up against a guy like Scelzi and Alan Johnson, that whole team, you got to get pumped up. And Dan did a great job getting that race car down when we didn't have lane choice, and we will this round.
I guess you guys don't exchange Christmas cards, huh?
No, you know, we don't hate each other, but when we get up there, it's battle, it's war, and we're going to do everything we can to win a round. I'm going to roll the car in deep or shallow. We're both doing the same thing. We have a job to do, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to win the race.
We'll see, Bob Fry.
Mike, what's he talking about, deep or shallow, rolling it in?
Well, basically, when you stage the car, you got the pre-stage and the stage light. When you roll the car into the stage light, if you stop it as soon as the car comes, as soon as the light comes on, you're in shallow. If you let the car roll maybe 3 to 6 inches after that light comes on, you're in deep. And what that does is it gives you a little bit better reaction time. And some drivers even go so far as to put the top light out, the pre-stage light out, when they go in so far, and with the hopes of throwing the other driver off.
We're going to find out exactly what Tony Schumacher does in the finals. Let's see how these guys got here as they went into the championship round. As things are busy in the Force crew. Gary Scelzi, of course, in the opening round had Robert Reel, but the advances, Tony Schumacher took out Don Lampus and then had a great race with Melanie Troxel. Very emotional win there. Bob Vandergrift upset Corey Mack, one of the few upsets in this round. And then it was Vandergrift advancing to take on Joe Amato. And a very strong performance there against Joe. A 470, as a matter of fact. That was his best of the day for Bob Vandergrift. Then those two advanced into the championship round. And Tony Schumacher and Vandergrift will be matching up, and it should be just a tremendous run. Two guys that don't have great records, to be perfectly honest with you. They're going into finals 1-16 combined in final rounds for those two guys, but somebody's going to win it here. Ron Capps, of course, thumped Bob Gilbertson in the opening round with the best of the day at a 492. Outran Jim Epler's WWF car, and he got lucky, of course, when Tony Pedregon broke down there, so that's how Capps has advanced. He's been the quicker of the two cars. Of course, handled Johnny Gray in the opening round, beat Scotty Cannon with his best of 4.96, and then just ran down Jerry Tolliver and the WWF car to set up what is going to be a great matchup in the final round as Capps and Force, Ford and Chevy, Snake against the Force team. And we've talked about rivalries all day long, and that's about as good as you're going to get here in this category. We're going to take a look at the pro stocks and find out how the guys advance in the final, see what they've got in store as the Battle of the Buckeyes will be on the starting line here at Firebird Raceway when we come back to Arizona. All that remains of the Checker Schuck's Kragen Nationals presented by Pennzoil are the final runs that the Bats and Pro Stars really on a roll.
Well, based on the previous rounds, elapsed times, obviously you got to give Jeg the advantage.
Play car, maybe by the middle of the season with some new Cavaliers coming out for the Jegs team. Mark Powick in the Summit Racing Machine, just a great competitor. Last win, Memphis in '95 when a guy named Gary Clapshaw was winning in funny cars. As a matter of fact, he beat Gary next to the guy that was overweight. Let's see if we can listen and watch on board with Jeg. Look at the crowd on hand, Mike, and as they get set to back him up, I got to agree with you. As much as from an emotional point of view, it'd be neat to see Mark Powick break that 6-year schneid. You got to favor the Jegs car.
Yeah, it's really, you know, especially with Jeg having lane choice and everything, especially with the pro stocks, they definitely favor this near lane. But, you know, you can't count them out. Anything can happen.
Brother Troy went to the finals here last year. Not quite as successful here this weekend. Great opportunity here, too, for Mark Powick to move way up into the standings. Coughlin leads this series 4-0. Mark was trying to pay us not to put that one up going into this final round here. Could be an interesting run. The sun is setting a little bit cooler, like you said, on the racetrack. Most of the wins in pro stock and all the pro categories, for that matter, have been out of this near lane.
Yeah, it definitely makes a difference as that sun goes down. If it's not down directly on the rubber, it doesn't get quite as greasy. So consequently, they get a little more aggressive with their tune-up.
Dick Maskin right there. He was the brain trust behind Jim Yates in his 2 championship runs back in '96 and '97. On board, you got to shift these things manually. The key right here, I think, is going to be who gets off the starting line first, and can Mark Powick keep from shaking the tires on the far side of the race course. Be very interesting to see if they play any games on the starting line of the stage. And no, Mark looks like he's going right in. Powick, just like Maple Grove, out of the gate first. And just like Maple Grove, Jake Coughlin gets the win.
6 to a 708. Good job, boys. Heck of a job this weekend. That's 2 in a row. Let's party down tonight, boys. Great job. The boys at Columbus are going to be fired up after that one.
Jake's got that party down look about him, doesn't he, Mike?
Well, he's got plenty to party about winning the first 2 races of the season. It's definitely got to be a great feeling for that Jegs team. You know, they left, basically, Powell got a little bit of an advantage off the starting line, but Dick Maskin's horsepower once again just drove by on the other end.
If you take that Winston Showdown out of the equation last year, this is the first time Jegs put 2 national event wins back-to-back. Good run till about 1,000 feet, maybe a car length at the top end. Jake Coughlin on a roll.
Here we are on board, going through the gears. Nice and straight, that's what they want. Doesn't look like they had much tire shake, and a nice smooth run. There's the win.
He won 696 to a 708.
Let's get down to the starting line, Bobby Gerald.
The horsepower man, Dick Maskin, big smile on your face. Congratulations. I know it's a whole team effort.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got a car goes up and down. It doesn't matter, good lane, bad lane. We've been turning the wind light on.
Congratulations to you. Steve?
Well, Jeggy, the pack is chasing you now with 2 in a row. Brad Fisher, give him the trophy. Brad from Checker Schuck's Kragen Auto Parts. Great run, 696, as you well know.
Yeah, we were extremely pleased with our performance today. We definitely took on the chores of the 10 degrees hotter today, and Dick Maskin and Gary Pierman, my father Jag down in Florida this weekend, was helping us out as well. And just can't say enough about everybody home at Jegs. You know, I think they're going to be real excited after this win, and got to thank CSK for such a great race this weekend, and look forward to Gainesville.
Well, as you said, party down and take Jackie Beck, Miss Winston with you. She'll go. Bobby.
Let's take a look at the points right now. Jake Coughlin starting to run away from this thing. I mean, it's way early, but when you're that far out in front of Warren, you got a pretty good old hot rod. We got the fuel finals coming up next. National event champion and the challenger, the guy that wants to be an 81-time champion. He'd like to be the national champion. He made a run a couple of years ago, Mike Dunn, where he actually won more races than John Force, but had a slump in the middle of the season and let John get up off the mat and win that championship.
Yeah, he had a great season in '98 with those 5 wins, but too many first-round defeats, you know, pretty much did him under. I like this race. I like this matchup. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens here.
The classic quarter-mile sprint between the Fords and Chevrolets. Taking a look at that U.S. Tobacco Chevrolet, the Bowtie Brigade from Don the Snake Prudhomme. 2 of the teams that just come in absolutely loaded. No excuses if you don't win this one. As strong as that car has been here today, I don't know how I could ever take anybody but John Force in the final round.
Well, I'll tell you, you got to go with John Force based on what he's won and does have the near lane, which has been the lane of preference for all the categories. I'll tell you what, I still like Ron Capps. He does very good in final round. He doesn't let the pressure get to him, and he's got a pretty good final round record against John Force.
Yes,
so
he does.
I'm going to go out on a limb. I want to pick Capps.
Who you like, Steve Evans?
Well, based on Ron Capps having run low ET at the event in what you guys are calling the bad lane of 485, he knows how to get down it.
We talk about rivalries from the very beginning of this program. Force and Capps here in the funny car final. We also mentioned that Ron Capps hasn't done too badly against John Force in the final rounds. You heard him talk about that Seattle race back in 1998. He did very well down there. The Snake just kind of walking away alone with his thoughts. Nothing that he can do right now, is there, Mike?
No, he's just basically sitting back and watching. He knows he's got a good team. He knows they've prepared that car as best can be, and he knows he's got the driver, so he's hoping for the win.
Capps has beaten Force in finals at Seattle and Dallas. John beat him at Brainerd in 97. Not a whole lot of guys can say that they've beaten John more in the finals than the other way around.
Well, he's probably one of the few, I'm sure.
Austin Coyle, the brain trust. Overall series, John Force. Well, just like everybody else, John's on the long side of the ledger right there, but Capps with a chance to send a message that Eddie Ace McCullough, Don Prudhomme is very talented. The U.S. Tobacco crew is ready to play hardball with the man here in the year 2000.
These are two great teams.
Just a great shot of the legend, Don Prudhomme. Got off the line first. That was the last thing that went right for the Chevrolet. 493 for John Force. He is one race closer to catching Bob Glidden in the race for the all-time win list in NHRA. 493, 313 the speed. This was all John Force, Bobby Gerald.
It sure was, and that makes now 6 out of the last 7 years that it's been John Force. Austin Coyle, the man who tuned it. Congratulations, Austin.
Well, thank you very much. It was kind of a struggle getting going here, but we seem to have got it all organized. McCullough and Snake's team over there are really tough. Just this left lane is a disadvantage, and lane choice was real important to winning the race, and it's been a good day. We thank you.
Look out at the Gator Nationals.
Mike, I got to tell you, Austin Coyle didn't have that feeling and sound of confidence when we heard from him in the pit area a while ago, did he?
No, but after 493, you can be much more confident. But, you know, here as we see, they leave the line. Capps does get the advantage off the starting line, but it looked like he got into that tire shake about 60 or 80 feet off the line, caused the tires to spin. John Force, clean, straight, 493, great win.
Let's go down to Steve Evans at the far end of the track.
Well, considering, John, that you were struggling to get qualified in the third session on Saturday, Brad Fisher from Checker, get in there with that trophy. This has got to be really sweet.
I tell you, if I ever felt motivated, getting up on a tire, my whole lead times ain't been so good lately. Racing Ron Capps to get your mind right. Him and McCullough is a great team. They're going to do well. But I'm excited to come out here NHRA Winston Racing and GoRacing.com. A lot of new sponsors. Winter Circle joined us, Hot Rod with Mac Tool, Ford, and Castrol. And I'm pitching them because I don't get here very often anymore. But I really want to just say, just love everybody, all the fan support, and this guy on my shirt there, Trip Shoemake. I'm giving this trophy to your kids. Lost him a while back. He was a great racer, and I love you, Trip. And I just want to get back to Arizona to do this for you. It means a lot to me.
A great,
wonderful
great tribute. Yes, indeed. Well, the points right now with 2 down. Jerry Tolliver still leads the way. Tony Pedregon and John Force right on there among the leaders. It's going to be great. We got the final. It's Top Fuel Dragsters in the desert next. Fuel final. Bob Vandergrift Jr. looking for his first ever national championship win, going against Tony Schumacher. Mike Dunn, I got to tell you, if Tony Schumacher could win this race, he can leave here with the points lead. That's not good news for the rest of the field, is it?
No, that's not, especially as consistent as that car ran all last year. You know it's going to do the same thing this year. If they can start getting the wins, they're going to be really, really tough down the late stretch.
Tony Schumacher won the Winston Championship last year, but didn't win a race until the Texas swing right before the end of the season. Tony Schumacher 1-10 in final rounds. Bob Vandergrift counting that Winston showdown in Bristol last year, nothing for 6. Looking for his first one right here. And both these guys have lost in the finals at Indianapolis.
Yeah, neither of them have a great final round record, but both of these teams, they both want to win. They're really hungry for that win. You know, based on what Johnny West said, it looked like he's going to go maybe a little bit conservative. Look probably like for a 468 or 470. But you know, that's going to be tough. And Tony's going to try to run a mid 460. So we'll see what happens.
John Force trying to work on all the sponsors. Maybe said, I don't get down here very often. I feel badly for him.
Yeah, I should have such a bad slung.
Last race of the Checker Schucks Kragen's Nationals from out here at Firebird Raceway. Johnny West looking in. Bob Vandergrift Jr. emotional win this would be for him as they're out there trying to dot the I's and cross the T's in a contract for a new sponsor. This can't hurt on your resume.
Oh, this would definitely help. And they are real close to signing something. So obviously, you know, anytime you can win the race is going to help your cause. But, you know, it's going to be tough. He's in that far lane over there that tends to have a tendency to shake. But I think Johnny West is going to put the tune up for that lane. I don't think he's going to go too greedy, but still it's going to be tricky.
Based on the numbers, Schumacher's been the quicker of the two cars each and every round so far. And he out-qualified Vandergrift. Tony Schumacher goes 5:09 and goes up in smoke, and I thought for a moment that Bobby V was going to be able to run him down. They were dead even out of the starting gate. 5:09 beats a 5:42. Tony Schumacher is going to take over the points lead. Let's get down to the starting line, Bob.
Big Dan Olson down here getting a word with his man, the defending champion. Congratulations. That's sweet.
Hey, our driver gets that one. We owe him one for that.
And why so? Explain to the fans at home.
Well, he was pedaling the car. We started smoking the tires down there, and he about pedaled them, so we owe him.
Congratulations. Go down there and tell him. Bob?
Dan Olson deserves a lot of credit for what this team has done. Nobody may take credit for a 5:09. That's why he likes what his driver did.
Yeah, you can see they both cars leave together. He spins the tires right there, back pedals, gets it recovered, then it starts spinning again down track. Now, he kind of legs it down through there because it's still not losing quite that much momentum, and it carried him through for the win.
His second national event win. He takes over the points lead. Could be a long season, of course. There are still 22 more races to go on the trail. Great job for Tony Schumacher. As I said, statistically dead even off the line. When he started doing that, Mike, I thought he was in trouble.
I did too. You know, that's a great driving job. I mean, he puffed the tires the first time, got to recover, but then right after that started spinning again. I thought for sure Vandergrift was going to drive around.
Great win for Tony Schumacher. It only took him 2 races to win one this year, Steve.
Indeed, Bob. Great drivers don't sit in the car. They become part of it. A very skillful drive, man.
I don't even know what happened. I went out there and I felt it go start to smoke the tires. I got out of it, hit it again, pulled the front wheels up a little bit, and you know, I knew I was in trouble. I don't know what we ran, but hey, another final round, another victory for Exide Batteries, Madco, all the people at Pennzoil and Gates. That's awesome.
And the points lead, I might add. I'll tell you, to get the points lead this early, you've given a real setback to Selzy and them.
Well, you know, we're going to go back and forth. Selzy, those guys are just fantastic. We're going to butt heads. There's a lot of other teams out there that are going to catch up, and we're going to be going rounds, and that's so important early on in the season. We got to last year, won it by 100 points, and you look back to the beginning of the season, how important each round was.
He found the winner's circle for the first time in Dallas, and he didn't forget where it is.
He's won 7 of 8 possible rounds at the start of this season. That team is almost as hot as the weather out here at Firebird Raceway in Phoenix, Arizona. Take a look at the points. We got a lot of racing yet to go during the 2000 Winston season, but the kid of speed out on top, Selzy, Dixon, Amato, and how about Bob Vandergrift gets up into the number 5 spot. It's been great racing here today at Firebird Raceway.